Fellas, welcome back into another and, well, quite frankly, a final episode of some VG gaming here with VG Ambition as we go into the finals of UML versus University of Ottawa. I don't know off the top of my head what is their exact team name because they have a secondary team name. Moose
Garnet. It's
Garnet.
It's uOttawa Garnet as their opponents.
Is
Hello, everyone.
Garnet is Garnet a version? So let me introduce those guys, and we'll come back to that. All right, here I'm joined not only with Jim, as you can see in the background, my dog, but also the fantastic broadcasting crew, Moose and TDS. Moose, how are you doing? As you've already said hi.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. It's a beautiful Friday. I got my weekend now and excited to see a team win a bunch of money. That's what I'm really excited about. You don't get to do that every day.
Fingers crossed, it's our team. TDS, you know a lot about money as a Colombian. Tell me, how are you doing, man?
I'm pretty excited as well. I like the fact that we're going to see, like Moose was pointing out, a team winning a lot of money. It's not going to me, so I cannot be that happy that it's not my own money. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure that BG will be able to perform, and you Ottawa as well will be a pretty interesting opening to watch today.
Yeah, I'm excited to see and experience a little more of what Ottawa is going to bring to the table here. But before we get into that, I first want to talk briefly about what's going to be going on with VG, and then I want to talk and just praise these guys, these gamers, these absolute studs that I have here at VG Ambition. First, as you guys know, those of you that have followed the VG community, I am Sly, the owner of Virtue Gaming. I've owned VG since I started it a little over a year and a half ago now. We were a branch off from another fantastic esports organization, Predictive Gaming. We took the teams that I had created and decided to take VG to be its own thing because we wanted to create a community that was going to, one, strive for being successful, being the best in this amateur esports scene. And also, I wanted to take a lot of pride in creating and establishing teams that are all across the board very good. So not only do we have like one team that is very, very good, but all of our teams are extremely successful. And quite
True.
honestly, after a lot of splits, I think that we've had a lot of success. I'm very proud of the amount of hard work and discipline that we've had. No pun intended for the LOR team um, that we've had in being able to develop a community and a culture that values winning and working hard to be able to accomplish some very, very big goals. I helped all the captains, all the team leaders, all the players to an extremely high level. When I brought them in, I told them, hey, the expectation is not maybe we'll make playoffs. The expectation is maybe we will win. We expect to be in the finals. Okay, playoffs was never a question. That was something that was expected, not a goal. And I think that that level of a high bar really changed the perception of what our players um, came into each season with. And I'm very proud of the results. As you can see today, we're in UML finals, one of the quite honestly most uh, one of the biggest and most well respected um, amateur esports championships, and I'm pretty excited about the guys that have brought us here. So let's, without going into any more stuff on VG, we'll talk about that in a moment. But let's get into a little bit of UML of VGA and who is going to be competing here for Virtue Gaming um, in these finals. So first, I want to talk about, in my opinion, the guy who brings ambition all together, and that would be number two, Ginger. Ginger has been a part of VG since the beginning. He was one of the first tryouts. He made a very clear impression. His Not only is he an extremely talented and diverse League of Legends player, he's played multiple roles here at VGA or in within the VGA. He's played top and mid. He's an excellent solo laner. He's also been a great coach to a lot of the other teams. But beyond that, I could talk all day about how good of a player Ginger is and how highly I think of him as a League of Legends player. But the most important thing about Ginger is that he has incredible leadership. The guy is one of the most responsible and solid leaders that you will ever see in the amateur esports arena. And because of that, I mean, but for Ginger, a lot of the things that we have here in VG wouldn't exist. The guy is a hoss, and he's very, very, very talented as a leader. and all the guys respect him. I think that that is pretty well known. So um, Ginger, very grateful for him and excited to see how he performs tonight in the mid lane. Next, I want to talk about the next most senior guy on the team, Loki Dosi. Loki is an absolute stud. He's been one of the best ADCs, and even though he's kind of got a questionable past. For those of you that don't know, Loki's got has a history of having gotten into a little bit of trouble in the amateur scene, which has prevented him from being able to play in some leagues like Aegis, which is one of the reasons Ambition competes in Upsurge and not in Aegis. And despite that, I think he has kind of repented, kind of shown that he is trying to develop and really take amateur seriously. And it shows in his play. The guy is an absolute animal. If you give him one lick of any sort of an opportunity to get ahead, he's going to dominate you, and it's not going to be close. And I think that that is one of the things that's been very apparent throughout his time here, and he's also very fun to be around. So great. I really appreciate Loki, and I'm excited to see how he performs tonight. And sorry, I know the casters are just kind of hanging while I talk nicely about my guys, but I think that's just kind of what I want to do here. So, and I'm paying you, so you guys can just hang out. The
Hey,
next
that's
I want to
great.
talk about good. Next, I want to talk about Phoenix Man. Okay, Phoenix Man is like he's like the guy that if you give him any sort of crazy pick, he's gonna be fine on. But if you give him Nami, he's just gonna dominate you. So you kind of have to vary it a little bit. You can't always give him something like Nami because then it's like too obvious that he's too good, you know. So you got to keep him on stuff like that. And I mean, the guy has actually got a pretty diverse pool. He plays enchanters very, very well. One of the better enchanter players, I think, at this level. But he's also stud on all other champions as well. And I have been very proud of the way that he has been able to lock it down in the bot lane with Loki, and I think that he is going to be able to perform tonight at that same high level. Next, I want to talk about Dylan. Dylan was the guy that we kind of brought in. One of the things that Ambition really needed, and in no way do I mean to disrespect any former players at all, because I have the tremendous respect for guys like Captor, who is an absolute stud and a good friend. But I think Dylan brought something to the table that was a little bit different, and that he was able to communicate at a little bit of a different and a higher level. And that is something that Ambition has been seeking and wanting and needing really badly. And Dylan also brings this sort of energy of like, we're going to throttle it down people's throats from the get go. And I think that that's been something that's kind of changed the mantra a little bit of the team. And it's been a very valuable thing. So I think Dylan has been a pretty incredible culture change just as a jungler because of how important junglers are in the communication tree. It's been really neat to see that. And finally, 67. Now, this guy, you know, he's not a great TFT player, but other than that, he's a great top laner. I'll tell you, the guy, you put him on an Ornn and he's going to slap you around like he could probably get arrested as a pimp because he just slaps hoes around like crazy up in the top lane. And I just really appreciate his diversity because he'll play anything from a pretty aggressive pick to something like Poppy and do and perform at a very, very high level. So it's been neat, awesome being able to see that. Having a real top laner who has brain cells is very difficult to find, and 67 matches. He brings everything to the table that you could possibly ask for. And so it's been cool to get to watch him play, to cheer him on. Overall, Ambition as a team has a lot of solid players. But I think one of the coolest things about them is how they've kind of rallied together and create their own identity, and be able to um, be a part of a team that had a history of doing well, and then take that sort of to the next level to being from a good team to the best team. And I don't say that lightly. I mean the best team. And obviously, of course, I don't want to leave out the uh, just how important and how great it has been being able to watch you guys develop. I know that I'm not always around, but I do watch any games that I can get a hold of and get to watch the stream. I will watch them driving. I will listen to Moose and TDS cast while I'm driving in the car, while I'm eating a meal on my way home from working. I will listen to whatever I can because I love getting to watch you guys play, and I'm just very excited about tonight as you guys go into your finals. So I just want to say thank you for representing me and Virtue Gaming at such a high level, and I appreciate everything that you guys have done. I encourage you and hope you do well this year, or not this year, but this tonight as we go into the final game of VGA as it is. So thank you guys. Moose, TDS. Before I start crying, uh, you guys gonna walk me through. Tell me a little bit more about this U of Ottawa team. You guys got any scouting information or anything on me? Anything for me as we go into this team? Supposedly they're pretty decent.
Well, my first
Supposedly.
off though, my goodness, what a speech. What a speech. Like that's I mean, owners out there of organizations like come on, follow example. You got to go in, you got to talk about your teams, you got to hype them up like Sly was able to do right there because it's important because teams need to know that the owner cares about them and they care about the
Yeah.
opportunities that they want to be able to bring to the table. But so yeah, thank you for that, and thank you again for having TDS and I. As I mean, as you know, like I've casted Virtue Gaming Ambition for a little bit under a year now. I'm coming up on my first VGA cast, I believe, in November. So it'll be a year relatively soon from now. But you know, TDS and I had the chance to be able to watch VGA play in the
BTS.
Victorious in the VTS, Victorious Triumph series, watch them win that season and do it, you know, pretty handedly. And, you know, they've continued to make waves. I mean, there have been some fumbles every now and again, in a couple of other different leagues that we don't really need to mention now. But at this moment, like VGA has shown themselves to be a premier team, like one of the best within their, you know, range of play and can definitely I think compete with some of the best in the business. And I definitely do think that they do have a challenge in their in uOttawa Garnet. They are, you know, like most of the collegiate teams right now, like the collegiate scene in general has just exploded into a whole different opportunity. And this was, you know, this was expected. If you guys, you know, watch basketball, if you guys watch, you know, or if you guys watch college football, anything like that, like you knew that this was coming. Schools are the place where players and people and organizations are able to learn not only how to be a player, but then also how to play as a team. And colleges really like to be able to give you that opportunity. I think that, you know, I've been seeing a lot of different teams come in, a lot of different, you know, collegiate teams go into the amateur scene, and then not only that, be able to keep in with that team. So I'm assuming, you know, I see the U Ottawa. I assume that they are I assume that they are a collegiate team. I would be very surprised if they're not, but they definitely have a lot of power within them. Grandmaster players, some master players. I think we got to really watch out for what types of champions they like to play because looking at their champion pool, we've seen a lot of different non-meta picks. Like I mean, yes, we're gonna in the ADC role, like we're gonna see the Twitch, we're gonna see potentially like the Callista, we're gonna potentially see the Zeri, but that doesn't mean then like the Jinx can't come to the table. Doesn't mean that the Jin can't come to the table. I really think that we need to be looking at the bottom lane here, looking to see, you know, how Loki Dosi is going to be able to perform against whatever bottom laner is going to be playing here for Ottawa Sprinkler. I'm sorry, for peak performance. Like I think that's going to be a really interesting matchup, but not to take away from anybody else. But that was like my main thing that I was looking at was just kind of the champion pool that performance is able to bring to the table.
And it's a pretty interesting point bringing it up because one thing that last week we saw with BGA was how well they performed with certain picks and how if they got an advantage they could play off of so effectively of their players. Number two, Ginger particularly, I feel like with confident picks, he can really perform really well. I remember, I'm pretty sure this was the case, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't want to be quoted on that. They first picked the Ari, if I'm not wrong, on their last game.
Yep.
So really try to go for the confidence in those situations, and at the end perform really effectively. So really, it really goes to show that if they got their picks, not only the fact that if they can get the better picks, but if they get their picks, the ones that they can really perform on, they can be a pretty strong team that knows what they want to do with. And I think that for BGA, that can be a pretty important advantage.
Indeed, indeed. I do like, you know, just in general, like I want to point out the prize pool. I want to point out the money. Like I know that everyone says that the money doesn't matter and you know you should just do it for the love of the game, but anyone who says that the money doesn't matter when it gets to this amount of money is fooling themselves. I do think that, you know, being able to be the champions of the UML being able to get the lion's share of that $6,000 prize pool to be able to say that you are performing at the best level in this high diamond master grandmaster position is a big deal. And if you aren't focused on making sure that as a team you're playing to your strengths, you're not letting those nerves get to you, then you're going to have a really, really tough time. And I think that, VGA being champions in the past, being able to win these tournaments is going to give them an advantage because that experience does matter. And your decision making does change as well. Like these 5 games, could be the difference between, getting, between, making rent, like literally like $1,000 is some people's rent or mortgage payments
True.
in like, this is like a professional's amount of money that somebody could win here. So, decision making does change with that. And so moving into this match for both teams, like I really want to see a good, clean series. I want to see some great League of Legends. I want to see some really fun tournament league competitive play. And I want both these teams to really give it their all and just, continue to have that good time because having fun is part of the reason why they were able to get here. Winning is important, being able to, get paid to do it is important, but still being able to have fun and remembering that having fun is the priority. That's going to be the goal here that I want to see today. And we're going to get to see some really incredible plays happen throughout this series. Very, very excited to watch.
Moose, you said
And
you want to have a close series. Sorry to interrupt you, TDS, but you
no,
said you
no
want to have a
problem.
close series, bro. I do not, dude. I want to see VGA. I
Did
want to
I
see VGA come out. I want to see 3 dubs. I want
did
to
I
be in
say
and
did I
out.
say close?
No, yeah, you
I think
like.
I
I
think I
want
said good.
terrible League of
I think I
Legends, dude.
said good
I-
clean series. I think
No,
I said
I
good
want to.
clean
I
series.
want a filthy 3-0, disgusting. I want you to be
Just get
like,
it over
oh
with.
man, this was gross. I feel dirty from watching this. I am hoping Dom. Somebody I didn't talk about. I feel like I pumped up all the players. I kind of didn't talk about Dom, who has been quite honestly a lifeline for Ginger, who had been taking those sort of responsibilities. And I think it's one of the interesting things that as we go into we're kind of getting ready for draft here is I think that one of the big values that VGA has had over the last and one of the big points of improvement has been the fact that they brought in Dom, their coach, who stays up until the wee hours over on the he's I don't know if you guys know this, but he's I believe Welsh. I don't know if he's
I,
Scottish or
I
Welsh off the
think
top of
they
my head.
I'm pretty I think they said Greek.
He's
I
definitely
don't want
not
to
Greek.
confirm. I feel like they said Greek, but if someone can correct me, perfect. Because I feel
Maybe
like
maybe he
that's
has
what
a
they
Greek
said.
god's body. Maybe that's what they were saying.
Maybe.
But I know that he lives in somewhere in Britain because
Okay.
I've spoken with him and I heard his voice. And oh, he talks like this. He's got a British accent.
So
It's not
he's a
that's not what he
Scottish.
sounds
Foxy.
like. That's
He's a
That's
not what he
Scottish
Foxy
sounds
Tim.
like
right
at all. By the
there.
way, he
He's
sounds
a
like he's
Scottish
Scottish
Tim.
or Welsh. He definitely doesn't
Oh
sound like
my
what I just said.
god.
But anyways, I feel like I just probably dishonored Dom. Like his like whole family line is just rolling over in their grave. But yeah, I think that that's one of the interesting things that you guys brought up last week, if you recall, was you thought drafting actually didn't go VGA's way. So I'm curious at what changes or adaptations that Dom will end up making if he feels like he needs to do any to be able to make sure that they are able to prioritize what they want, and if those things that they prioritize end up being the things that are also being prioritized by Ottawa. So I think that'll be an interesting thing for tonight for sure.
All right, let me pull up the drafts here. Let me see what's going on.
The
Let me
ones
see
from
what I
last week.
think. Yeah, let me pull up last week's drafts really quick
I just remember
Sure.
cuz
VGA winning at this point, honestly. So kind of hard to remember
yeah.
the exact picks.
Yeah,
It's like game two
so
specifically, Moose.
game 2 specifically, so that was that the Talia pick? Were they because it just shows blue and red. I can't remember if they were blue or red at this point.
I think we
Um
had Talia.
yeah, Talia.
Yeah.
So let's see. They had Renata Siver.
Oh, but we have draft.
What?
We have actual draft right now. The draft for the
Oh.
bird game.
Oh, we have draft right now. Oh shit. Oh shoot. Oh boy. I'm falling apart here. All right, guys. Are you going to stay in your Sly or we're going to take it? I think we're
What do you
gonna
guys
take it.
want? Yeah, you
All
guys
right,
take it. I
no,
will
we
hop
we
out.
got it. We
See you
got it.
guys.
We're clear. We're ready. Thank you very much. As we got ourselves ready to get into this ban. Didn't get a chance to talk about those drafts previously. But I think, looking at what we've seen from VGA, there has been a lot of priority for number two Ginger in the mid lane in the
Yeah.
last three games that we saw. All three of them, number two Ginger was able to pick up their mid lane in the first round of picks, whether it be that Ari or that Talia. So really looking to be able to prioritize that as the Seraphine not banned gets locked in. A very strong, flexible option, but it's probably going to go into the hands like Loki Dosi in the bottom lane, if not just anyone in the bottom lane.
I feel like this has to go with the fact that Sivir may be a pick as well coming in from Ottawa, which in that
Mhm.
case just means that you're fine with trading Seraphim because there shouldn't be that much action. Although we have seen Sivir solo kill the Seraphim in the bot lane, but I think that that's a pretty safe bet to try and go for, especially with Seraphim being a strong champion. The answer of Ornn and Wukong, I think, goes to speak how much they prioritize just going for their game plan, which so far seems to be team fighting with Ornn and the Wukong. The Poppy here is an amazing counter because of the denial of the movement abilities that you get thanks to the W. And this also means that they can flex both Poppy and Bolivar between bot lane and top lane, jungle and top lane. Like these two champions can go really well into both of those positions. So I'm kind of interested seeing where they allocate the champions.
Yeah, I do have to question here this Ornn R1 pick. Like, I know that Ornn is a very strong champion as that Sivir gets locked in, being able to get that headbutt, the Call of the Forge God, of course, being able to get that massive multi-man knockup, apparently,
Yeah.
along with that Wukong. Like, this screams, like, if I just saw the Ornn and the Wukong, screams to me like you are trying to be able to play for a Yasuo composition, but instead you decide to go with the Sivir here in the R3 pick. You don't want the Sivir to get banned out in the second phase of bans because that is, I think, one of the high priority pickups that's still available with the Senna being gone. Sivir obviously, being able to put a lot of pressure on any team right now, and on top of that, you
Yeah.
are able to pursue VGA a lot better with that on the hunt. But definitely interested to see, how the rest of the picks play out for Ottawa, especially given that the Ornn is going to be the R1. You knew exactly what you're going into, and now you get a chance to potentially, counter that in other lanes. So VGA, I think the ball is in their court to determine how they want to play their bottom lane.
Interesting the bans that we are seeing because there's a lot of mid lane attention for the side of BGA, which goes to show that they don't want to give any sort of priority or potential for Ottawa, which I think you brought up a very interesting point with the Yasuo being the pick. The only problem is that without having any other source of magical damage, I think that maybe Ottawa is not that incentivized into opting for it, and I can see them going for as support here, maybe something like Leona to follow up Nautilus as well. Enchanter Lulu could be a pretty good option. Instead, they are going for the Ares, so they are leaving their support for the last pick. And they also went for that magical damage, like we were talking about. There was a lack of it, so the Ares kind of fits that build quite nicely in that regard.
Yeah, so we've got the Ori locked in. Lulu is still available as a strong pick to go with the Sivir. Nami is also on the table to be able to get multiple knockups. I don't think that a tank support is necessary here.
Okay.
And now that we've seen the Aphelios get locked in for VGA, looking to be able to get that scaling as the
Ooh.
brand is hovered, that would be a lot more
Ah.
late game AP scaling. It's not going to be the case. Seraphine instead is going to get locked in. So it is a number two Ginger, Seraphine mid. I really do expect to see an Enchanter here. If we see a bottom, like if we see a tank here to go up against the Braum, I don't know if that's going to be the right call, considering
I really
that
hope it's the Lulu.
I do think that the Lulu is the right choice here. You can go with something maybe like the Nami. You could go
Or
with like
Karma.
Sona. Karma, for example, is a decent choice. As the Ash
Okay.
gets locked in, very interesting indeed. So not an enchanter, but something that does provide more CC. Looking at Ottawa's composition,
Hmm.
so much engage on this comp with their ultimates.
Yeah, and I think that's a pretty good, or at least a pretty safe way to try and go for the game or the idea of the game. Because one thing that typically teams may lack is that initiation button, that go button to try and make things happen, especially when they are behind. But having the Ash,
Mhm.
having the on the hunt as well is a pretty good way to try and cut out in terms of chasing. Having the Wukong ultimate, the Orn Horn, and even just Yari engaging with the mobility that she has can be pretty good ways to try and force team fights. On the side of BGA, I feel like maybe it's a little bit more forced because Bolivar and Poppy are much more straightforward in the ways that they need to engage. But they, thanks to the surfing, they also can serve as leverage for the Encore to come through and then be the engage factor. And I think particularly for BGA as well, Braum will play a pivotal role in this game because he has to block the Ornhorn, the Ash Arrow, the Charm from the Airy to not become something much more detrimental for BGA.
Yeah, and remember the Ash was locked in response to the Braum. This is the R5 support pick, which, in the LCS we have seen the support pick get selected in the later stages of the draft because you do want to
Yep.
be able to draft something that can, counter whatever it is the composition that's trying to go for. In terms of what role can really counter whatever composition your opponent wants to play, the support role definitely has the most flexibility to do that. You can go with something with a lot of CC like the Nautilus or the Leona. You can go with something that buffs up your champions like the Nami or the Lulu, or you can go for something that's a little bit in between. And I feel like the Ashe provides like a niche role for Ottawa, not only being able to get the hunter's mark, to be able to like look at very long ranges, be able to look at where potentially ganks are coming from. I do expect that we will be seeing a Volibear in the jungle here. So
It
being able
is.
to get that early game prep, it is the Volibear jungle. So, looking to potentially see how well Dylan is going to be able to play with that. But we also got to look at, what exactly is the objective here for Ottawa. I think VGA's composition is pretty straightforward. You do have a really strong opportunity to be able to scale well into the late game, and you have enough front line to be able to allow number two Ginger and Loki Dosi to do that effectively. For Ottawa, their composition, I think, is really focused in on the bottom side of the rift and focusing on making sure that AMLO and Sprinkler are able to get that priority in the
Yep.
bottom lane. Dragon stacking is going to be critical here. You want to have that bottom lane vision, you want to have that bottom lane control.
100%. Having those dragons stacked up on themselves can be a pretty good tool for the side of Ottawa for two reasons. First, if they are ahead, they can force the side of BGA to come into and fight, which for their composition could be a pretty good way to try and just get even more of a lead and try and snowball through that. And if they are behind, having the first two dragons means that they can buy themselves enough time since the next two dragons are not going to be that worthy. Like they can just wait for the dragon canter to keep on stacking, wait till it actually comes into soul point or soul, and then they can decide to fight. But with stacking or getting that control in the bottom side of the map early on, I want to see BGA try and put focus for the Heralds. Not necessarily because it's a better option to try and go for the win or anything like that, but giving a lot of gold, especially getting a lot of gold influx for the affiliates is one of the main ways that I see them winning. So getting at the Herald that can just give so much gold easily to the affiliates, I feel like it's a pretty good play for BGA, and that kind of focus can end up evolving into then the affiliates being able to carry out the game.
I do, I think, Aphelios is going to be the win condition here. Being able to get a strong Moonlight Vigil is the really the secret sauce for VGA's composition,
Yeah,
especially when we get into those later dragon fights, and especially the Baron. At this point, looking at the drafts right now, I do not expect VGA to win off of a Dragon Soul. It's going to be a Baron. It's going to be a Baron play. That's
they
going to
need to
make it
force it.
happen here. Yeah, I think that that's going to be, the winning opportunity. Now, of course, if in the first 20 minutes of play, VGA is able to take any dragon, that really inhibits the ability of Ottawa to be able to, move forward with their plan of being able to get that early dragon soul. So, in order to do that, looking at the top side of the rift here, looking at those early rift heralds, Phoenix Main, I think, has a really tough task here because Lokidosi does need protection. in the early stages of this competition, but you don't want to stay in the bottom lane the entire time. You want to be able to make sure that you're able to provide support to number 2 Ginger. You want to be at that Rift Herald fight in the event that it does become a skirmish. So I think for Phoenix main, being able to rotate around the map effectively is going to be an important play here moving into
Yeah.
this game. And I think we've got a really exciting game one here for both of these teams. It's a best of 5, and I'm already pumped up to see who's going to be able to win the beginning part of this series. Before we take it to a quick break and into the game, TDS, what is your Dragon Soul prediction for game one?
I'm feeling windy, especially because I'm half cold feet right now. So I feel like it's going to be a cloud soul.
Cloud Soul, cold feet, you say? Cold
I
feet?
feel,
That's like
yeah, I
that's like
feel
a
like
wedding joke
there's
or
some.
something.
I wish it was a joke. I'm actually freezing cold right now.
Oh
So
no.
hopefully it is the cloud soul, or a infernal soul that warms me up, and we have a lot of action.
There you go. It's a bit monsoony here in Vegas, so I'm gonna go with an Ocean Drake today and an Ocean Soul, Ocean Rift. Of course, no Chemtech Drakes yet. If I see any Chemtech Soul predictions in the chat, I will not be happy. But with that being said, folks, we're gonna get ourselves ready to get into game one. We're gonna take a quick break, and when we return, we will begin this best of 5 series for the UML Grand Finals. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Virtue Gaming, as Virtue Gaming Ambition will take on University Ottawa Garnet in this best of 5 series for the Unified Major League. My name is Moose, of course. I'm joined by TDS here at the desk. But before we get into the game, I want to shout out our producer here for Unified today. It is Caddy that is here for today, going to make sure that not only our production value looks good, but we can ask him for any sort of support that we may need as we move into the game. So if we get some thank yous in the chat for him, that would be greatly appreciated. But let's now
Thank you,
move
Mr.
in.
Caddy.
Yes, thank you, Sir Caddy. So let's go ahead and get into the match here really quickly. We saw at the very beginning of that VGA decided to go for a 5-man death brush, maybe trying to see if they can poke out a first blood. Not able to get it. Looking at the stakes of this game here for VGA, like, you know, the idea that they can get themselves into a mid-game position with a decent gold advantage is definitely there, and I think that that is the goal.
Certainly, it's important to see how they can get those sort of advantages, especially because you really don't want to give any sort of advantage to uOttawa. Like we talked about scaling wise, BGA does have tools thanks to the serving and the affiliates. But on the side of uOttawa, it's still the same as well. They have the Sivir, they have the Ornn, they have a Nash that even though it doesn't necessarily go into a straight up 80 carry build, she can still get the 80 percentages that the Ashe will get, and that can still be valuable later on in the game. So you have to take into consideration those things, especially thinking about trying to go for late game fights.
Yeah, a little bit more of a kind of pseudo damage build coming in from Sprinkler, really looking to be able to
Yeah.
get those multi-man ultimates. Deciding to go with the Arcane Comet instead of something like the Summon Airy, for example, to reduce the armor and magic resist of one specific champion. So looking to see how effective that will be moving into potentially a Team 5 phase, as we get to see already the value of the recon that Sprinkler can provide. Knows that Dylan is on the bottom side of the rift, means that they can now play safe.
And this also means that now, with the pushing wave and the fact that they know where the Volibear is, we can see maybe the Wukong trying to opt into a play bid against the Seraphine that is getting pushed with the Ahri, or they try to control the Scuttlecraft. Like, they know where the Volibear is, so their tools at their disposal to try and keep control over the Volibear and over the jungle are much higher than that of VGA's because they know where the jungler is.
Yeah, I mean, looking to push the tempo as well for Akuma here, the mid lane for Ottawa, deciding to go with the Unsealed Spellbook as their keystone. So, you know, you can use that teleport and then switch over to Exhaust, switch over to an Ignite. You have the opportunity to really push the pace here in the mid game, especially in the early game with the power of that teleport already coming in. As we do see a play here in the bottom lane, Phoenix main.
Phoenix main.
Taking a ton of damage, level 3, but down to about 250 HP.
Hurt quite a bit on Phoenix main getting that damage down, but importantly, even though they did blew the flash out of the Ashe, and I think that that's an important thing to keep in mind for future plays, Wukong did get the bottom lane Scholarcraft, and he's currently on his top side, which means that he should also get the top lane one, and that could put him into a pretty good advantage. Are they looking to dive this?
Yeah, let's see if they can make it happen. Lokidosi does have the Gravitum, gonna be able to get the root as the Sky Splitter lands on its Sprinkler. Phoenix main gonna be down to 100 HP, and the play doesn't really work. Just not enough health for the side of VGA. As Kyler is in the brush, maybe looking to go for a play here. Ginger gonna get charmed, gonna be in trouble, gonna be forced to flash away, going to be able to get under tower.
Survives by quite a bit of health. Luckily, doesn't take a lot of damage. That ends up being much more critical in that point. But in both sides, a gank attempt, a much better effort by Ottawa because they do get the flash out of the Seraphine. And I'm kind of interested why the decision of VGA was to opt into that kind of force, because the wave wasn't even pushed. They are level 3 and 4 respectively, or not respectively, but level 3 and 4 between the three members. And they cannot really try and force in that situation. Like early ganks or early tower dives were taken away from the game quite a bit. Like it's not like it's impossible to try and pull off right now, but it's still quite hard to go for those early tower dives. So I feel like the decision not really logical in that point, and it doesn't pay off at all.
Did get our first roam into the mid lane for Phoenix main. Gonna be able to also drop a control ward in the river brush. Just looking to be able to get that control of the river. Of course, you know, those drakes being a high priority, I think, for Ottawa here moving into the next couple of minutes. That Mountain Drake is going to be available. Maybe looking to be able to set up for that, with Kyler 1 being able to get those wolves. I'm very interested to see now, when the next play is going to be for Kyler. Level 4 right now on that Wukong. Once you get level 6, the power of that Cyclone to be able to disrupt multiple members is there, but definitely looks like we are setting up for already that dragon play.
first move towards the bot side. They have the Wukong, they have the push in the mid lane, and they have the Ashe also for support. But right now, the bot lane has the push in favor of the side of VGA. They don't know where the Bolivar is currently, and he's not walking through the bush to the Triber, so there's still no info about the Bolivar in here. But the wave is in such a bad spot, they cannot try and go for a gank here, I think. Unless they wait too long for this.
Yeah, not going to be able to go in for a potential play. No Stormbringer available, so the Dragon is just going to get taken freely by Kyler1. Not even a smite used until very late, as Lokidosi is going to be at about half HP. The flash for flash as AMLO is going to be able to get away. Cleanse still available as the lane does look to get pushed forward.
It's a flash for flash, but Dylan didn't need executing that play because he flashed instantly without propping the Q. Which means that unless it was planned, but if he doesn't prop the Q immediately, then he's not going to get the point blank stun. So it's just a flash for flash that maybe could have been a flash cleanse or just a flash of a Bolivar. Still, they tried to force the play. They knew that the dragon was being taken by Ottawa, and even though they did lose the dragon, I think that getting that flash, if they can capitalize on that and get a second play later on, can be quite meaningful. But it's on BGA to get that play done and try and get the gold value out of that flash.
So there is a window of opportunity where Lokidosi could be given a massive influx of gold here, and I think looking 3 or 4 minutes ahead is going to be the play, because AMLO does not have flash until probably, I think it's about the 12-minute mark is when he's going to be able to get it. Rift Herald, if VJ is able to get it, could go into the hands of Dylan and could be the opportunity to be able to get some massive gold into Lokidosi as we get a flash forward. Going to be able to get the rogue charge on Kyler1. First blood is going to land as the Ornn Horde is going to come through onto Dylan. It's going to be the Stormbringer defensively to try to be able to get away as 67 will fall. Not expecting that AMLO will be there. It's a 1-for-1.
The rotation from Ottawa pays quite nicely, getting that counter kill onto 67, but the side of BJ did get first blood and also took down the jungler, which means that there's not much of a risk for them to try and lose this Herald, unless they are going to commit for it, because the Helios is currently on bot lane. So this play is really not answerable by the side of BGA, especially because numbers advantage will be on the side of Ottawa, even if the Ornn is currently on bot side.
Sky Splitter does get used on the hunt, is also going to get consumed with that extra little bit of movement speed. Kyler1 with the decoy, able to get over the wall, is still on the Rift Herald. It's going to be down to about 1,300 HP. Who is going to be able to get it? Who gets it? It's going to be AMLO falling to 67, so it is at least going to be 2 kills for VGA in exchange for the Herald. That's 600 gold. A much better trade for VGA.
Dylan smited a bit too early, which in turn doesn't mean that it means that they don't get the Herald, but they did get the 2 kills back, like you're pointing out, and those 2 kills are not going into a bad member. Like having the Seraphine have one of those 2 kills as well as having the Poppy, which it can be a pretty interesting menace in the side lane, especially when she's opting for the Sunderer, can be a pretty good deal for VGA. And on the bot side, Aphelios didn't join at all for anything like that, so he just kept getting farm. I think he managed to get 1 plate as well, so he got a pretty good deal of gold into his pockets as well. 300 gold ahead of the Sivir, and that is a pretty good win for BGA when you consider the overall state of the map.
Exactly. 300 gold ahead. It's basically that kill plus the turret plate that Lokidosi was able to get over AMLO, and on top of that, Loki still has his flash available for potentially a play down the line against AMLO, who is going to be able to get that flash back in the next 90, or not 90 seconds, about 2 minutes. So really interested to see if there is still going to be a play available for Loki, as decide to go with the pickaxe first, is looking to be able to get to that Gale Force and be able to potentially then start to roam around the map a little bit more. For the time being, we do get a Charm going to land right onto Akuma. Stormbringer is ready for Dylan as well, as the Spirit Rush will get used to be able to get away. The Charm does not land, but the Cyclone will, and Stormbringer will be used defensively from Dylan to be able to get away, as number 2 Ginger is going to be forced to flash. Shutdown's going to land the crushing blows onto the Seraphine. The concert is over, and the Monkey King gets a double kill.
And it's a great play and a big mis-execution by BGA. The Ash Arrow doesn't hit, but who cares about that when the Wukong has such an important lead over the Bolivar? Maybe not in terms of levels, but the item difference. Wukong has much more damage value as of right now. The Bolivar has boots. Yes, that helps you to be able to run onto people and get more cooldowns, but that doesn't turn into damage, and that was one of the big liabilities in that fight. As well as also a secondary thing, and well, it actually did matter in that play. Number 2 Ginger used the Encore to start the fight. But the biggest issue for me in that fight was the fact that he didn't have the E ready to use after utilizing the Anchor. You're lacking on your CC. If you have every tool for the setup there for the Bolivar, then Bolivar just runs in, stuns the target, and the area potentially dies, or at least they are able to make Akuma just run away from the fight and not be able to support it in a way, which I think ended up mattering quite a bit.
A pretty massive tempo advantage here for Ottawa. Mid tower and all 5 of their turret plates will be taken as a punishment for the double kill that Kyler1 was able to get, returning to the map with that Divine Sunderer. Gale Force and Leandres are unlocked for number 2 Ginger and Loki Dosi, so they do get some pretty major items on your carries. But now you're looking to potentially be able to contend at this Dragon. This is going to be a major team fight with 3,000 health remaining. Let's see who's going to be able to get it. The Dragon is going to come through. It is going to get taken by Dylan, who's going to be able to utilize that smite effectively. Nice route from Akuma to be able to use that Everfrost to be able to get away, but it won't mean that Kyler will be able to escape. The Encore does not land, nor does the Winter's Bite. So it will be 1 kill and the Dragon going over to VGA.
Really like at the end that we saw the Seraphine trying to utilize the Anchor through multiple members to try and get on top of the Ahri, but at the end it's a Dragon and a kill in favor of the side of Ottawa. The Affiliates did utilize the Gale Force, so he will be down that bit, but I think that he can put a fight against the Silver quite nicely at this point. And importantly as well, I'm not sure if he had a shotgun goal or anything like that, but getting the kill into the Wukong also means that he's off the map for quite a bit, which means that you can begin to set up once again on the side of PGA. I want to see what they do with the pressure that they just got, and Bolivar opting towards the top side. Maybe we do see a potential gang against this Orange. Oh.
At 67, going to be able to get Gumby Power to about half HP. Keeper's Verdict is active, or not active, for this Poppy though, so no available knockup. But the Call of the Forge God is, as the Oranhorn will be able to force the flash out of 67. Going to be a nice Glacial Fissure to be able to get the knockoff and to slow down multiple members. But this is a 4v3 that VGA is not prepared for. Phoenix Main is going to get knocked up from the Cyclone as Kyler1's going to be able to take down the Poppy. And Akuma will take down Phoenix Main. It's 2 clean kills for Ottawa.
And this is a play that it's not only the fact that they had the numbers advantage, but they could prep for it because there's a ward right now on the top lane that is not taken away. They saw the Bolivar coming in, so from the start they knew that there was a chance for them to get ganked. They just waited for the numbers to just accumulate towards the top lane and then committed for the play, which at the end netted them 2 pretty good kills. They didn't lose anything at all. The Philios was just collecting the Crocs on the bot side, and the Seraphine was afraid for her life because she cannot push blindly into the river, and they get absolutely nothing on the side of VGA.
Not even a turret plate was secured. And as we move into the 15-minute mark, I don't think either team is happy with their early game. Neither team was able to get the objectives that I think they were looking for. While Kyler1 was able to get the Rift Herald, Ottawa was not able to secure the first 2 Dragons. That means that we're looking at potentially a 30-32 minute Soul if the first 3 Gagons get taken. VJ is not able to get the Rift Herald first. They're looking to go for the second one here as this fight has begun.
And teleport coming in from the Poppy. We need to see the cooldowns. There's no Oranhorn. Oh, Ash Arrow?
Yeah, Ash Arrow is going to initiate the fight, but it really doesn't do much here for Ottawa. Rift Herald's going to get secured, and Ottawa's going to run away.
Interesting decision from Ottawa, but it's a lot on the cooldowns that they have. They won the fight previously in the top lane, but that meant that there's no Oranhorn, there's no Ahri, Fox Rush, I think it is. Fox... I think it is Fox... I think it's Fox Spirit Rush, something like that. But Ari didn't
Spirit
have her
Rush for
ultimate.
Akuma.
Oh, yeah, for Akuma. Spirit Rush, there's no Spirit Rush for the Ari. And the only one that they could play off of is the Ash Arrow. So at the end, they cannot make the fight happen. And BGA had the advantage in terms of positioning as well as having the advantage in ultimate. That's why they could just force the play in their favor. And at the end, they are able to take down the Herald and maybe potentially another turret. Oh,
Yeah, Dylan going to go in, going to be able to get Akuma's Spirit Rush out of it as the winner's bite does land. But that was not the objective. The kills were not the objective. It was going to be that tower as Stormbreaker is going to be used defensively. Phoenix Main is looking to be able to keep Dylan and Lokidosi alive as Kyler One's going to be able to come through. A nice kill force from Lokidosi. An amazing charm from a Phoenix Main is not going to be enough as it looks like Lokidosi is going to be able to get away. The flash from Phoenix Main. Huge survival there as Lokidosi is going to be able to get a double kill. And despite the fight maybe looking good, it's a triple kill for Lokidosi and disaster for Ottawa.
I feel like there's nothing but praise that I can go for in Lokidosi in this fight. Because it's not only the fact that he gets the triple kill, it's everything that happened in that fight. How he got the triple kill. To start off, we see the engage onto D-Line, but it doesn't really matter. And then the Lokidosi was going to be forced into an odd spot because Kyler was coming in, but utilizing the Gale Force effectively, got his positioning away from the Wukong ultimate immediately, which means that he just free hit onto the Wukong ultimate with Infernum, got so much value, and then just the typical affiliate things, flashing in to get multiple kills, and at the end, just getting the Q to secure it all. Pretty good play from the Dylan. Just still, it's even more aggressive to say the least, and they now get access into this dragon as well.
Yeah, you know, I said that Phoenix Man got a charm. He was charmed by Akuma, literally saving the life of Lokidosi there, making sure that he was able to stay alive throughout that entire play. Cleanse was not even used during that exchange, and just the hands that Lokidosi was able to have there, being able to utilize that Gale Force at the precise moment that Kyler 1 was shown is so big here for VGA. Not only does that stop any sort of dragon stacking for Ottawa, there's no way that we're going to see a soul here for the foreseeable future for Ottawa, but it also means that Lokidosi was able to secure 3 kills and is now in a major gold advantage against AMLO. Very close to being able to secure a second item when AMLO is just barely on their first.
Pretty important difference that is going to be noticeable, like you're pointing out, against the Saber, especially because early on, that's the first one. Especially because the Saber needs those 3 items to really feel like you have an advantage over her. But the affiliate is already reaching that second item, that Bloodthirster particularly, where you can get so much life back into yourself, as well as being able to utilize the Seraphine healing to extra buff you up. It just makes it so hard to try and fight against affiliates.
And now looking at, what's next here for VGA. Baron will be available in a minute. You would like to see them be able to get this mid lane tower to go down. That way that opens up the map considerably here. We've already got that top tier 2 tower down, so there is very little protection for any sort of split pusher in the side lanes, whether that be Akuma or Gumby. So you're really looking to be able to really open up that map with that mid lane tier 1 tower. Looking at it, everything else across the map, Lokidosi doesn't have flash available. So I don't think that VGA is looking for a fight right now. You want to be able to make sure that that flash will be ready for potentially a Baron fight in the next couple of minutes. But until then, it's farming up, it's getting gold, and just making sure that your carries are able to just get as much items as possible.
And that's kind of the main way of playing. Like, you're still depending on your carries to try and get that spot where it's going to be an equal toss, but at least you will be able to fight it out. Because at this point, it feels like it's Lokidosi, especially with 2 items completed, and then everyone else is kind of expectant to see how well can he do or what can he do in those fights. I think for BGA, though, importantly, Ash Arrow coming in.
Ooh, no. Not gonna land. You were saying?
I think, like, for BGA, I feel like it's going to be important seeing if they try to go for any sort of picks or anything like that with the Bolivar and the Puppy, because those are 2 champions that can displace other champions so effectively, and you can get some advantages if you can make the most out of how they try and engage fights. it seems that they are going to try to go for the turret, which, like you pointed out previously, this is such a good objective to get off the map, to try and gain some control over the enemy jungle, and much more consistently, because that's something that I feel like they are lacking right now. If you look at the enemy jungle, there's just one ping ward in favor of VGA.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the vision, there's a lot of deep vision as well for VGA. And that north hex gate near the red buff, you can see they've got the river control as well. They're not really preparing for Dragon. That's going to be in about a minute, but they will have that available momentarily as the Enchanted Crystal will be used to stop the back of Loki Dosi. Not going to go back, I don't think yet. He's going to get the red buff first, so say thank you for making me back first. It worked out, but
I dislike that so much, actually, you know, because you don't need that red buff right now. You can just wait for it a bit, wait till it's 1 minute for Dragon. There's no chance that they are going to steal that because you have vision over on the river, so you know where they are going to go in. And instead of getting the red buff right now, wait till you come back 1 minute for Dragon, you have the red buff. And you will utilize the duration much effectively. Like right now, he's doing nothing with it.
you know, you make a good point there. Let's see if that makes the difference, because the slowing on an Aphelios does matter. To be able to get a little bit of slowing against Kyler 1, to be able to get a little bit of slowing against Akuma, could mean the difference between getting away from a Cyclone or getting away from a Spirit Rush. So
yeah,
it is a good point to be able to think about, and it is those micro plays. Going for that red buff a little bit early, going for a play bot side that didn't necessarily work out to allow for mid lane to get pushed forward. Those are the plays that could make the difference between winning and losing this game and winning and losing this series. With Dragon spawning in 30 seconds, it's potentially soul point for VGA, and it looks like they're gonna have river control for the time being.
Importantly, they have the control over the bot side, like you were pointing out. There is no vision on the top side, and I'm not sure how quickly the side of uOttawa can do this Baron, but they are starting it quite rapidly.
Yeah, they do know now with that far side alteration as 67 does come through. We do see that Dylan is on the way to potentially begin the dance. The Dragon is now live, so VGA has been able to take uOttawa off of the Baron. Let's see what they're going to be able to do with it. The play is to go for that mid-tier 1 tower. A huge objective for VGA to get if they can, and they get it for free. Nicely maneuvered by the VGA squad.
Importantly, though, I think that VGA could have done the Dragon and the turret at the same time just because they had the Bolivar already on bot side and they could have stopped the play. But I like that they tried to take it in their own pace. They deny Baron, they will take the Dragon, and this also means that they can move. Oh, wait.
Yeah, we've got a play here potentially in the mid lane. Gumby power is going to be down to half HP. Phoenix Main just continuing to try to protect as many members as possible. The stand behind me, the Unbreakable, is always a threat to deny the Enchanted Crystalero and the Ornhorn. And on top of that, they're also going to be able to force out the On the Hunt from the Sivir. That will not be available for the next 45 seconds or so.
And that also means that after the Dragon, there was no chance for a Baron to happen because they blew off some of the cooldowns from the side of uOttawa, as well as just having the Ornn be so low, they cannot force a play anymore. I think Akuma doing the only smart, or not only smart thing, that sounds kind of bad, but doing a pretty smart thing in what, just consistently pushing down the bot lane, get the turret because that at least means that you're getting some sort of objective and goes back into your pocket, and putting some pressure as well on the map. Because someone had to answer the push in the bot lane, like we're seeing right now at 67, but you need to make these kind of moves, because if not, VGA was running pretty effectively with a lot of the control of the map. They get the turret in the mid lane, they get the Dragon, they stop the Baron, and there's nothing that uOttawa really achieved in that moment apart from the turret.
About a 10,000 gold advantage, or not 10,000, 1,000 gold advantage for Loki Dosi. Yeah, I know, 10,000 gold. The game's over at that point. It's a sly stomp that he was looking for, but Loki Dosi about 1,000 gold ahead of Akuma, who is the richest person on uOttawa's squad. A relatively inexpensive build is at 2.5 items, but it's the Everfrost, which is about 3k. You've got the Void Staff, which is also relatively inexpensive, but the big purchase coming in soon is going to be that Rabadon's Death Cap to really start laying down the law in these team fights.
And you know, I'm honestly not a huge fan of the Everfrost this particular game, because you have so many tools. Ooh. like that one to try and get someone in place that having just getting that extra bit of damage from the Ludens or having something that will just burst out someone out, I think would have been potentially much more beneficial. Now, the Everfrost always will find value thanks to just keeping someone in place for so long. But I think that as the only damage, a magical damage dealer, if you can make someone have to buy magic resistance against you, that's a huge win in and of itself.
Very intense game right now when every single item, every single play that you make is going to be scrutinized because you are fighting for grand finals. A huge opportunity. Everything matters. And so, looking at what's next for both of these teams, I think both teams are looking to be able to get key items on their carries. And the big item for Ottawa just getting unlocked, that Rabadon's Death Cap is going to be available. That is a very strong amount of AP there for Akuma to be able to start laying down the law in terms of AP damage. But most importantly now for VGA, it's looking to see if Lokidosi can get that Infinity Edge. Interestingly enough, still has a refillable potion. Still trying to be able to get that little bit of extra HP. But once you're able to get Infinity... Yeah, of course. But once you get Infinity Edge, that's a 3-item Aphelios, and your composition starts to really come online.
That's a pretty big difference maker, especially because in this game he didn't go, or he didn't opt into trying to go for something like an LDR where you can try and cut the resistances from the Ornn or the Wukong. So having that Infinity Edge will cover up some of those deficiencies, and obviously everyone knows Aphelios. That's a 200-year champion that will mow down the enemy team if he gets the chance. And he gets it. So this next fight is going to be a pretty big issue and a pretty big problem for Ottawa if they cannot get a hold of the Aphelios, which seems to be a pretty hard thing.
I think it's going to be very difficult indeed. And, as we get started for this Hextech Soul point potentially for VGA, I do, have to criticize Ottawa here. I think that they made an error in their macro play in not trying to go for a Baron play before this dragon spawned. You've allowed for Lokidosi to be able to get the 3 items. Now the ball is in VGA's court to decide how they want to play the game, and they are going to do that now. They are going to start the Baron, and they're going to force Ottawa to make a decision, either fight at Baron or try to get the dragon.
Yeah, Aphelios has 2 of the best guns. Actually, they can take this. Wukong is too far away. That's it.
Oh my god, huge play for VGA.
They have every tool to get to Dragon as well, so they can get both. They can also lose the fight.
This could potentially be a game-ending fight here. VGA is looking to come through as the Charm does land on a Phoenix Man, going to be down to less than 300 HP. Dylan's going to come through. The Encore's going to land on a 4. The Encore is huge from number 2 Ginger as Lokidosi is continuing to be able to stay safe, using the Gale Force aggressively to be able to take down Kyler 1. That's AMLO falling. Akuma is next. And the passivity of Ottawa is going to cost them the game as 67 is going to be able to take down the Ahri. It is the Ornn against the world, and no amount of Gumby power is going to stop VGA in game 1. They get the Baron, they get the Hextech Soul, and they potentially get the game.
And a teleport to top lane by 67 as well, which means that they can get this top lane turret, potentially the inhibitor. Ashe did spawn, so maybe they don't have enough damage to be able to pull this off. But it's still Soul Baron team fight victory. And apart from my complaints about the fact that Puppey got that last stun onto the Ahri in the wall, like that was a pixel of a difference between getting the stun and not actually getting the stun. But who cares about that, right? Team fight. Great ultimate by the Seraphine. This is why everyone loves or picking the champion and hates playing against it. Because one Encore that gets just pushed onto everyone in the backline completely changes a fight. Then Aphelios is super fed, so he essentially 1v1 Kyler without any worry at all. And they couldn't even kill the Braum. As long as he has the shield, it doesn't matter how much damage you have if you don't burst him out, and they couldn't. That was such a good team fight by VGA at the end.
I want to mention Lokidosi's build right now. Upon coming back from that play, picks up a Last Whisper and a Stopwatch. This Aphelios has not yet had to use Cleanse in a team fight. And that is to go to show how important The peeling from Phoenix main, Dylan and 67 has been in that exchange. It does not matter if Kyler 1 is the only person that's on Loki Dosa. You do not have the damage as the Wukong to be able to follow up with it. So huge peeling for Loki Dosi and a huge play for VGA, as it does look like we are going to see another play here in the mid lane. The Charm's going to land on to Akuma. Akuma's going to be down to less than 100 HP. Will die to the Stormbringer. The alley-oop to the dunk from Dylan, as number 2 Ginger is going to be able to get a double kill. Loki Dosi in the fray as well. But that is 5 members strong for VGA, and they are looking to end the game.
And that was a Nash arrow into a Charm Everplus to stop some of the members. Oh, Ari, you're not dead. But thankfully, I hope that they don't kill the Ari, my favorite champion, but the game is over 100%. They are just pushing here effectively. They have the damage. They can even dive. Okay, first cleanse of the game.
And we got to use cleanse. Logan Osi goes golden. He doesn't even die. I love it. I love it. Loki Dosi having a highlight performance, going in 5-0 and 3.
Yep.
But oh my god, number 2 Ginger with an incredible encore. Phoenix main with some incredible protection for Loki Dosi. Just a phenomenal game 1 for VGA that, honestly, I think that Ottawa just handed to them.
In a certain way, yeah. Like, I don't want to say that there was nothing, that there was a lot of things that they could do, especially after some of the mid-game decision-making because of the affiliates being so strong and all that. But that Baron indecision that they had, where the Ornn at the end was just taken out and they couldn't do anything, into then just giving up complete control over the Baron just completely throughout the game. And there's something that we talked in draft. Soul was good, but that is not going to win you or lose you the game. It was Baron bot, because there's not a lot of tools for the side of BGA to try and get onto the enemy base against an Ashe, against a Sivir that wave clears like crazy, against an Ahri that has the charm. With Baron, it was pretty easy to try and push for the win, and they did that. Pretty great decision making by BGA, and as long as they had the control, they could just do whatever they wanted.
I mean, it was, I think, not a test of mechanics. Not a test of mechanics that cost Ottawa the game. I thought that they played somewhat well. I liked the idea that there were many Enchanted Crystal Arrows that were just brought out trying to be able to get a stun onto Loki Dosi, onto any member possible. That wasn't the issue here. I think macro plays are what cost Ottawa the game. And I have to say it again, the passivity from the 20-minute point onward was where they ended up just kind of falling short, because VGA was able to rotate a little bit better. They were able to get what they needed when they needed it. They were able to get that mid-tier 1 tower into the Dragon. They were able to stop the Baron from Ottawa. And Ottawa, I think they wanted to try to scale up as much as possible. I think the strategy was get those ornaments out, allow for Akuma and for AMLO to be able to get, 3 items, and so that they could potentially contest the Aphelios. But you're never going to be able to catch up to an Aphelios once he hits 3 items. He's always going to be able to outdamage you. So not risking a play and not trying to go for like a Baron push, not trying to go for a fight when the scaling wasn't completely there for the Aphelios, I think was the critical error of Ottawa here in game 1.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like those are the kind of things that we have to look for into game 2, because this is like BO5. So adaptations can be made. You can salvage the series still. It's just how well you can go looking forward into game 2.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And with that being said, game number 2 will be starting very soon. We're going to take a quick break, get everything set up, and when we return, we will begin the draft here for this second game in this best of 5. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Virtue Gaming. Team Ambition has already been able to take game one away from the Ottawa Garnet squad here for the grand finals of the Unified Major League. But they still got 2 games before they are able to sweep this best of 5. Moose and TDS here at the caster's desk as we move into game number 2. Ottawa has selected the red side here to begin this game. Once again, the priority on Ord, the B1 pick for Ottawa.
And don't get me wrong, I'm all in for Orn having priority and all that, but not when there's both Seraphine and Senna open. Like those two champions have been quite the turf for a lot of teams and a lot of players. So not picking it up so early on, kind of surprising. I'm pretty sure BGA will not go for Aatrox at all. Instead, opting for the win, so immediately answering the potential Orn here. But if Seraphine and Senna go untouched in this first base, in this first pick order, I'll be so surprised.
Yeah, I mean, Senna Seraphine have been kind of dominating the Rift recently. 12.14 has been so gracious to them. Viego also an option here. A very strong jungler still. Just you can't get rid of the man. And
Sure.
he is gonna get locked in. So, I mean, are you surprised that Seraphine Senna not even selected here?
I'm surprised, but to me, I'm more surprised that not even one. Like I'm fine if both take one of the other, but if they both end up on the same team, especially if it's a team with Orn, with Seraphine Senna, that is a lot of late game prowess, and then a team with Seraphine Senna and Diego could just be so detrimental as well, because that is so much healing with a champion that thrives off of resetting and getting health back. I'm not sure if I would be a fan of that, but teams have plans and they have their decision making, so I cannot question that either if they have an idea of how to answer here. But Ottawa, 3 same picks on the first pick phase, like in the previous game. Surprised that they haven't adapted anything. Although
Yeah.
these champions are not bad, but I think that you could have taken them later or not.
I mean, I so what really gets me here is I mean, we'll talk about this later in the draft, but you do now have 380 champions that are locked in for Ottawa. That does guarantee that you are going to see potentially a very heavy hyperscaling AP mage in the mid lane, so you are able to balance out your composition. Yone, very strong AD mid laner, going to be able to put in a ton of damage and can potentially, if he's able to get those fate seals, can drop the hammer for number 2 Ginger here. So a very different pickup here for VGA. Seraphine Senna not even considered yet, though they are still
Not at
available
all.
for an R4, R5 for VGA. Ottawa could still potentially pick it up in their B4, but I'm not a fan of teams that draft a single type of damage, whether that be AP or AD, in the first 3 picks, because it really telegraphs what you have to do in your second phase of picks, and that's exactly what Ottawa's doing here.
It incentivizes so much to try and just take away certain things, like the Brom ban, like you're pointing out, really goes to show what they are scared of, but what would have worked against their composition. So they are kind of forced into this kind of decision making. I'm expecting BDA to look into more bot lane bans. Instead, they go for the Pantheon, thinking that it could potentially be a mid lane pick or a jungle pick that could still work as well with variants as well. Although Pantheon support is still a pretty doable champion and Temkinch as well. So maybe they think that Senna would be much more the option if they do opt for the Senna. They if they do opt for something in the bot lane, it would be more the Senna, and then they want to take the Temkinch away because that's kind of the best pairing with the Senna Temkinch, or not the best pairing, but one of the more typical pairings with the Senna. But I think that PGA, if they take Seraphine here, would be a pretty good option because that leaves so much for what they can go for. And Sivir Senna is not a pairing that I've heard quite a lot, which I think Ottawa maybe is not that into picking if they get the chance for.
Yeah, I don't. I'm like looking back at, I've been watching a lot of LCS. I've been re-watching LCS
Oh,
recently, and I don't think I've seen Seraphine Sivir come through because Sivir, I think, either wants a pure enchanter, something that can really buff her up, or someone that is going to be able to protect her, like a tank, like the Nautilus, like the Leona, something along those lines. And I don't think that Seraphine just gives her the power that she needs as an enchanter, but then also doesn't provide enough protection and peel that the Sivir can really capitalize on and allow for the opponent, or not their opponent, but it allow for the tank potentially to be able to move in to get a really strong ultimate off. So Seraphine going to be difficult as the Rise does get locked in. The predicted hyperscaling mage is going to be available here. As a
okay.
Leona is going to be hovered, a very strong duo matchup here for Ottawa. Silver Leona, I think bread and butter. If you guys have not seen it yet, it can be very nasty.
True. It's a combo that you can set up quite easily with. And with the On the Hunt, you can just allow for the Leona to be much more aggressive in a lot of instances and get quite a bit of value when you think about it. The Rise, I can kind of understand the logic, but I find it interesting looking at the Rise being the pick here. And for BGA, I was thinking go for a Lulu to buff up the affiliates, but they lack engage. So I think that maybe they would want something more with engage potential. I like this much more. I don't know why I actually forgot that this champion was a thing, but against Ottawa's composition that has three forms of engage or four forms of engage when you think about the Sivir as well, and actually five because the realm warp potentially works that well as well. You have
Mhm.
the hostile takeover as just a complete denial of that. And if you get a massive hostile takeover into two or three targets that are coming into you, that just sets up perfectly for team fighting ultimates like Jonas, like Aphelios. Even the needlework from the Wen can just thread perfectly in that kind of instance. And I think Renata here can find so much value.
And now in game two, unlike game one, where the expectation was that Phoenix Main was going to be able to roam around the map and be able to be aggressive in the mid lane, provide support to number two Ginger, it's now the complete opposite scenario here. We want to see if Ottawa can roam this Leona around effectively, if this Rise can use the Realm Warp effectively to be able to get the side lanes into a good position. And of course, you want to be able to see the Rise get into a decent position against the Yone, but this is a very stable, very strong duo here. Aphelios Renata going to have not only a little bit of CC in their composition with the handshake from the Renata, the Gravitum, E from Aphelios. Like, you do have options to be able to keep yourself protected in the lane, but that is
Yeah.
also a lane that is going to be able to take control if Leona decides to move around the map. So really big test here for Ottawa's bottom lane is going to be whether or not they can land that CC. I think cleanse is a must here once again. You do have to be able to make sure that Loki Dosi can survive either the solar flare or the potential just whatever CC that Ottawa is trying to go for in the team fight stages of the
The
game.
point and click W, for example, as well.
Yeah, I know. The point and click W is fun. Um, I especially, with the Rise route, of course, but I do think that VGA's composition is, I mean, it's a very similar composition for Ottawa. Let's just make that clear. It's a very similar style of composition here. Instead of
Yeah.
going for the Ash and going that long range CC, you do get that shorter range CC with the Leona. That's a little bit more effective and a little bit more frontline. But VGA has so many ways to get to the Rise Sivir and to be able to stop their damage that I'm really liking VGA's chances here of being able to make this a clean second game.
And I think that with the tools that they have, it's going to be a pretty interesting way of looking at how the game will perform, particularly because I feel like the Renata just throws so many things into a curveball for what Ottawa as well as BGA could achieve with the game. Because one thing that I'm afraid is still a little bit for BGA is not having that go button in case things go completely wrong and they need to force something to happen. But Renata is also such a good champion at having her own CC, but also just being able to take away your engage. So if BGA is ahead, which with their composition they can get advantage in each lane and try and make the most out of those, that means that if they have to come into you, Renata just becomes so strong. And that's without taking into account the fact that there's 4 champions here that thrive with Renata's passive, with getting revived. Like any one of these 4 champions that is paired up with the Renata would love to get revived because their damage is so high that getting that second chance, that what is it called?
Bailout.
Yeah, that getting that bailout just means that they can actually just run the team fight if they can, particularly Diego because of the resets. But the 3 champions are just so high with that, and I think that Renata really comes in as such a great last pick for VGA.
It's like a pseudo on the hunt because you do not
True.
only get the extra attack speed and you do get the revive as well, but you also get movement speed towards champions, which is
Yeah.
something that Viego, Yone, and Gwen absolutely say thank you very much. Give me more movement speed towards this backline. So a very, very strong composition, I think, from a VGA. If we look at, if we go back to, if we get to game 3 and VGA is able to win this second game, the question now is for Ottawa, how are they going to be able to adapt? Because they're going to be attempting a very similar composition to what we saw in game 1. I do think that the objectives are a little bit different though, considering that instead of it being a Volibear, instead of it being an Aphelios, oh god, I'm already losing it. Who was the support? Who did
Brom.
yeah, Braum, instead of it being an Aphelios Braum, you've got Aphelios Renata, a little bit harder of being able to complete maybe some dragon takes, especially since you're going up against Viego and the Yone going to be able to have advantages against the Rise. You've sacrificed a little bit of lane control in the mid lane to allow for your Sivir to be a little bit more in control in the 2v2 in the bottom lane. So you are taking a little bit of a risk here. You are kind of leaving Rise out to dry, I think. But if you are able to get that bottom lane advantage, if you are able to get those dragons, that is the objective here. You need to make sure that you do not allow VGA to just take control of the map like they were able to in game 1. Otherwise, they've got just as much scaling, if not more scaling, than you do.
Yep, and that's a lot of a fear that you have to go against with because there's just so many tools that PGA has that even though uOttawa has a lot of tools as well, in straight just if you try to take for damage, if VGA gets to deal their just a 50% of the amount of damage that they can actually deal, like I can just see them running through team fights because there's just so much damage accumulated in each of these champions kits that it's kind of hard to go into it. And even then, like Renata uses your own damage. So even if you deal damage, it doesn't matter because you can just get completely turned around by the Renata. And that's kind of a big fear looking into this next game. I think that uOttawa though still has pretty good opportunities to make a lot of good things happen. Particularly Ornhorn and Leona are going to be your go-to tools to try and make the game go into your favor. And their peak potential can be quite good as well. If they get into instances where they are first to certain objectives or certain spots and they can get on top of a target, there's no true tank on the side of BGA. So if they can get on top of one of those members, someone will die because they can get killed quite quickly. And I think that that's something that Ottawa has to play off of.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Gwen is the tank.
Oh, yeah.
TDS.
She's
Yeah, I mean, come
invulnerable.
on.
True.
Yeah, she is immune. Gwen is immune for sure. But you definitely bring up a good point here for Ottawa's composition. They are a very initiation style, very heavy in being able to take control of whatever team fight they want to go for. Disaster, of course, would be if VGA is able to find a pick and is able to get those
Yep.
skirmishes. I think, it's going to fall to Dylan here to be able to execute that. We've seen some phenomenal Viego plays with the Herald Path, being able to get that invisibility, to be able to land a very important stun, to then begin a team fight and make sure that their team is able to win before the opponent can even react to it. So if you are able to find a good stun, say on to either onto Akuma or into AMLO, like you do have the opportunity to be able to take out one of the two pillars of damage that Ottawa has. And if you're able to do that, I do not think that Ottawa has enough damage in the composition to get through the health bars, albeit lower health bars for VGA. So I'm very excited to see now how Ottawa is going to be able to initiate. I think this is a big test of vision and initiation here, especially around the Dragon and the Baron. But we're going to find out what the actual result of this game is very, very soon. Before we do that, TDS, we were both incorrect. It was a Hextech
Yep.
Drake for game one. Prediction for game two.
I believe in the Hextech again. I think it's going to be Hextech Soul once again.
I am going to say Cloud. I think, you were
Okay.
on the right track there in game one, TDS. I'm sure that it's going to be a Cloud Drake here in game two. Chat, let us know what you guys think the Dragon Soul and Rift is going to be here for game two. Of course, if Virtue Gaming Ambition is able to win, they will be one game away from being able to take a clean sweep against Ottawa. Ottawa, though, did show a lot of good mechanical prowess in game one. They are now looking to be able to tie up this series moving into game three. You will not want to miss it. We'll be right back. Hello everybody, welcome back to Virtue Gaming. Game number 2 here between the University of Ottawa Garnet up against Virtue Gaming Ambition for the Unified Major League Grand Finals. My name is Moose. I'm joined at the desk by TDS and of course Caddy at the production booth. And as we move into this game, we really need to see what Akuma is going to be able to do with this Rise, I think. Looking to be able to see how well the Realm Warps are going to be able to work, how effective his roams are going to be, especially that he not only has Teleport, but that Unsealed Spellbook.
He really is not going to be defined by what he achieves against the Yone in mid lane. Well, a solo kill will be great, obviously, but it's on what he achieves when he moves around. If he gets a kill on the side lane onto the Aphelios, a lot of value. If he kills the jungler or the Gwen as well, a lot of value for your team. And that's what, like you're pointing out, will really be brought to spotlight, looking at what Ottawa will achieve with this Rise. Because if not, then you're playing for the Yone. The Yone just wants to farm, and if he can kill you, that's perfect.
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of pressure here, I think, on Akuma in the early stages of the game to be able to utilize that Realm Warp and just the mobility that he's able to provide effectively. Moving into the first couple of potential plays with that Realm Warp, level 6 is going to be paramount here. As we do see both junglers deciding to go with a top side clear to start things off. Going to be a full clear from both Dylan and Kyler Run. So once again, both these teams just allowing the island in the top lane to, stay the course and looking to be able to go in either to the mid lane or the bottom lane.
As it was written in the olden times, top lane just shouldn't be visited at all. That's a lane that doesn't exist until like minute 20. You don't have to think about it, essentially. But interestingly though, because both youngers are starting on topside, it goes to show that maybe they want to put their AD carries as far ahead as possible, especially after the previous game where Lokidosi just was so left untouched and so strong by himself that if you're on the side of Ottawa, you want to not allow for Lokidosi to do anything, and if you're on VGA, you want to have Lokidosi in the same spot once again.
So Kyler 1, I think, looking to be able to go for an early gank here, skipping Wolves, skipping Raptors, wants to try to find something now with double buffs in the bottom side of the Rift. Now, it's going to be a difficult gank because the lane is pushed up. Phoenix main Lokidosi just not having the pushing power. So maybe an opportunity here as AMLO is there. Phoenix main and Lokidosi got to be careful. Cleanse is available as the Zenith Blade completely misses.
They still don't know.
They still don't know. Kyler 1 is still waiting, and Phoenix main is going to go forward, is trying to be able to find something here. No Nimbus strike forward. Great handshake from Phoenix main. Disaster for Kyler 1.
And you have to question why Kyler 1 decided to be so aggressive in that spot, where there was no ward, no lens, nothing to show that the Renata knew that the Wukong was there. If they just waited a little bit longer till the cooldown from the Leona is down, or at least close to being down, and they force the fight, they get such a nice moment because they are so far away from their turret anyway. But because they showed so early at the end, nothing happens. The side of VGA was able to answer, and Phoenix main with a great pull to salvage anything that could happen in the bot lane. And it also made it so that Dylan could now get this Scuttle Crab in the top lane.
Yeah, Dylan not only gets Scuttle Crab, but he also gets tempo here on the Rift. He's actually going to meet Kyler 1. Level 4 to level 3. Sheen is available for Dylan as well, so there's just no way that Kyler 1 can contest. Kyler? Kyler is number 2. Ginger is going to get ignited. Sprinkler roaming forward. Soul Bound to be able to get a little bit of minion play, but very interesting start to this game.
Pretty interesting, but Dylan did get a pretty nice lead over the Wukong thanks to that movement. Gets some of the camps off of the Wukong, gets the tempo like you were pointing out, has the lead in terms of items thanks to having that Sheen. Important though, I think, for the side of Ottawa, the gank timing from Sprinkler onto Ginger to try and blow out the flash. They did get the ignite back, but look at the setup. Thanks to this, Akuma can just try and set up this perfectly so that they can try and set up for a later gank because of the positioning of the minions. And it's not like Ginger could have gone into that place alone. They have to hold the Renata, and they can look for another play potentially here. Oh, the flash.
Number 2 Ginger, the soul unbound, the bailout is available, and the ignite will stop. Huge play from Phoenix Main, once again being and doing exactly what they need to. First blood to VGA.
And Phoenix Main is just everywhere, doing everything he can to allow for his team to get as much as possible. They are going to look into the jungle. There's not going to be anything apart from the Crocs, but that first blood going into the side of VGA, such a good play. And I feel like they could have gone a little bit more aggressive, particularly number 2 Ginger, because the bailout was on him, so they could have tried and maybe get another kill onto the Leona. But I respect the fact that they didn't go too far forward, because obviously dying is not great.
Berserker Greaves are now online for number 2 Ginger. The Fate Sealed is available as Phoenix Main with another handshake on AMLO, going to force the flash out of the Sivir. Kyler 1 is there as Phoenix Main is now going to be in trouble, going to be flashing as well, trying to be able to get away. Nice Spectral Maw to be able to try to keep the Renata alive. It will not be enough, but now Lokidosi is looking to be able to get something in return. Does get Kyler 1 and is now looking for more. The flash forward into the grab, and I'm going to try to find the root. The Infernum is there. It's a double kill for Lokidosi. It's almost a triple kill, but it's number 2 Ginger that is going to take it. Is he going to be able to get it? No, it'll be Dylan that will take it. No, it's actually Lokidosi. A triple kill for this Aphelios once again.
Can we get a bit more of a zoom in this doubling? Because how the hell did this happen? This is not something that should happen at all. Still, solo kill for Diorn. Pretty good news for Ottawa, because that's the only redeeming thing that has happened so far for them. VGA controlling bot side, 3 kills on the Aphelios. I think they should have given a kill at least to Ginger, because he did roam around and he's quite behind in terms of CS. But it's still a lot of gold going into your Aphelios, which it's something that you value quite a lot if you're on the side of VGA.
Oh, I don't think you're complaining at all. Lokidosi was so good in game 1 with this Aphelios. Getting it again is now completely ahead of AMLO in terms of items, in terms of gold, with the pickaxe as well as the Noon Quiver. It's a full pickaxe advantage for Lokidosi here at the 7.5 minute mark. Looking at this game, looking at the Dragon though, not going to be that Hextech Rift to TDS. Second chance points. What do you think the Dragon's going to be?
Let's go for Infernal. I think that maybe damage will help me out this game.
Yes, Infernal to be able to get that AoE burst damage, to be able to, potentially give that over to VGA would be pretty big. Speaking of big, large gold advantages for Dylan in the jungle. 7,000 gold in the lead against Kyler 1. And that's because of assists and because of the extra money that they've been able to get through getting those extra camps.
Pretty important to have that sort of lead over the side of the Wukong. And particularly because Wukong is a champion that really plays off of having good items on himself, like the Shin into the Sunder, really makes a big difference in terms of the damage that you can deal with the Monkey King. And it's pretty nice that you have such a good lead over him already as the Diego. Now, when he gets his first item, that's going to hurt even more, because the Dylan will just keep on stacking damage, and that is going to be so beneficial against a uOttawa team that really doesn't have a lot of routes to try and out damage the Diego, apart from the Savior late game and then being able to lock down someone out.
It is a level 7 Aphelios as the Hex Flash is going to come through. Lokidosi does have Cleanse, going to use it, but it's going to get knocked up, going to get flashed upon, going to get bailed out, but it won't be enough. First death for Lokidosi in this series as Phoenix Main is in trouble. Several turret shots going to be taken against AMLO as Doomby Power is going to be potentially going to die as well. Give me the Heartbreaker coming in. Dylan going to be able to make it a 1-for-1. That's going to be the Dragon going over to VGA. So across the Rift, a 2-for-1 trade.
2-for-1, really nice news for the side of Ottawa, because they are able to punish VGA in that regard. Going over the wall with the Hex Flash, that's why I think it's the best run if you have an engaged support. Hex Flash just makes so much of a difference when you try to go for this kind of plays. And Lokidosi ends up paying the price for going a bit too far forward. I feel like with the decision of going for the Crescendum, I think that it's the white weapon. if you
Yeah.
go for the weakest target in that fight, which is the Sivir, I think that with the Bell there's a better chance at killing the Sivir than at killing someone like the Leona or the Wukong because those are tankier champions. But it was a hard call to make at the moment, and I cannot fault Lokidosi for that kind of decision. I do think, though, that the top lane dive scuffed to a certain degree and pretty nicely played by Compi because he opted into taking away the minions, which made the turret focus Dylan a bit, and that meant that the Viego had to take more damage than needed.
I mean, that play definitely could have gone worse for Ottawa had Dylan been able to survive. Very importantly, not going to be able to get that Rift Herald money up to 67. You're going to be able to get it up to Lokidosi here on the bottom side of the Rift. Two turret plates going to the Aphelios. You won't be able to take the full turret down, but you are looking to potentially make it happen now as number 2 Ginger is going to come in with that Soul Unbound, looking to be able to get some damage as the Soul Effect completely misses from Sprinkler. Great handshake once again from Phoenix main. Gonna be able to get away.
Sprinkler misses everything out, which is sad, and that also means that now diving is an actual play potential here. Wukong coming in, they need to be careful still.
Oh my lord, massive damage on AMLO, gonna be down to about 2/3 HP. As Dylan looking to be able to come in with that Spectrum Law. Gonna stop it. This is a 4v4, and both teams are looking kind of scrappy here. They're both wanting to maybe go for it. They could probably flip the game right here if you are not careful. Dylan gonna be able to come through, and it looks like Ottawa has decided to think the better of it. The tower will go down. First turret gold gonna go over to VGA.
At the end, the raw muscle from the side of VGA makes them be able to take the turret, which, after everything that they committed, if they don't get the turret, that would have been so bad, because they are the ones that are trying to keep up the tempo going in their favor and trying to keep the pressure up against certain members. I like that Dylan is trying to put pressure, but he needs to be careful here, especially with Phoenix Lane trying to back. They are really aggressive on this.
Yeah, Ginger gonna be able to get away using the Soul Unbound. Zenith Blade, I think thankfully for Sprinkler, did not land. Otherwise, that could have been a pretty rough trip into enemy lines. But who knows? That isn't what happened. That isn't the timeline that we live in. And at the moment, VGA is, I think, somewhat happy with how the early game has played out. 3-1 on your Aphelios. You've got about a almost 3,000 gold lead thanks to all the turret plates that you were able to get. You've got a decent CS advantage for Dylan and for 67, and you're doing pretty good, I would say, in the early stages.
And also, not only, oh wait, Kyler.
Yeah, we gotta hold that shot though. Kyler 1 does not have decoy yet as the bailout is gonna be used. Dylan is gonna go through, going to get knocked up thanks to the brittle power of Gumby. But the Gromp was the reward. That's all they really wanted, and they're gonna get it.
If you ask any jungler, that's what they will tell you. The Gromp is the real prize at the end of the day. But interesting though, Dylan did start a fight with ultimate, so there's no ultimate right now for the Viego. So I don't think that it's going to be a huge issue, especially because Wukong is a level behind on the Viego. So there shouldn't be that much contest potential anywhere that the Viego goes. But it's a still interesting way to start off a fight, particularly with the Viego. So
Yeah, I think that
he's fine. Okay.
Yeah, gonna be fine as we move forward. Riftmaker unlocked for 67 now. That is just such a big power spike for the Gwen. No boots yet, no second item. I think once you get that second item, that's when plays start happening. As a handshake's gonna come through, Phoenix main is gonna be able to get a little bit of damage on the Kylo 1 as the hostile takeover is going to be effective. Going to be able to get the Burk onto Akuma, who's now going to potentially be in trouble. Number 2 Ginger gonna force a flash out of Akuma with that Fate sealed. Soul Bound is gonna come in with a nice knockup from Kyler 1, but it won't be enough damage. There's no follow-up as Dylan's gonna be able to pick up one, doesn't get the reset. The Moonfall completely misses from Lokidosi as number 2 Ginger's gonna be exhausted. It's a double kill for Akuma. It's another kill for AMLO, and it's a double kill for the Sivir. First gold lead, first kill lead, pardon me, of the game for Ottawa.
And one of maybe the throw of the game, because this is a pretty big loss for the side of Ottawa, of VGA. Yes, this doesn't mean that they lose the gold lead, but free gold for Sivir, free gold for Rise, free gold for the Wukong because he got all the assists, and it's all on bad play coming in from the side of BGA. They don't play the team fight accordingly. They try to force it without really having the measures. The ultimate from Diego not being out, I think a pretty important factor in that fight. And then I understand the attempt of the hostile takeover, but they opt into it way too early, before the Wukong even is close to ulti, and that just means that they cannot play out the fight correctly. Ginger doesn't have an item, so he really doesn't deal as much damage as possible. And they don't play off of Loki Dozy, your actual carry. Oh, Ginger.
And Ginger's going to be down to about a third HP, less than a third HP, as Phoenix Man and Loki Dozy are going to be in trouble. The call of the Forge God's going to come through. Loki Dozy and Phoenix Man will be forced to flash away, as Ginger will be sacrificed on the altar of the dragon. So that's going to be Dragon for a kill so far. But maybe a little bit more, as Jumbi Cower is going to try to be able to pick up a kill onto Dylan. Doesn't happen. The 67 is going to be able to walk away as well, so it's a kill for Dragon.
It's a dragon that they obtain, and it is going to be the Cloud Soul, so this time around you do win. But the ones that are not winning are BGA, because those series of events, the gold is telling you that they are still ahead, which in reality they do have the gold in their favor, and they also have the turret advantage. The problem is that they are giving so much gold back at champions that they don't need to give gold at all. Look at the difference in terms of the gold value. Loki Dozy is no longer farther ahead than the Silver was. It's just 200 gold difference. In the mid lane, there's 1,000 gold in favor of the Wukong. And it's just bad decision making from the side of BGA overall in that regard. Like, they didn't even need to force the fight like they did, and they still didn't play it accordingly in that situation.
It's a little bit of deja vu here for VGA. Last week, when they were up against the Homeless Grads, they once again played so aggressively. They just tried to go for these plays that they just were not going to win, but they just still wanted to try to go for them. They wanted to try to flex those muscles, and they end up getting burned as a result. So in a best of 5, giving that extra game over to your opponent, you know, it is not the biggest problem, but you don't want to give games over at all. And it is a bit of a interesting decision for VGA to play so aggressively, to kind of go a little off the rails here. And I'm curious to see if it's still going to cost them. I mean, obviously this game is far from over, but VGA could have put this game in the bag.
And they still have the gold lead. It's not like they are far behind or anything like that, but it's just giving advantages. It's something that you really should try and not do at all. This will close out the lead if they can get another good push with the Herald, which I think they can get the... Yeah, they get the headbutt, but it's not going to turn into a massive value. So they pretty much just keep the gold lead close enough. Still not a bad situation for Ottawa, because they open up the mid lane turret, and this is something that we saw in the previous game, where when the mid lane turret was opened up for BGA, they finally managed to get so much more control over in the map, and that means that the situation for Ottawa, where they can get control over the map, control vision, and don't allow for BGA to know where they can walk into, can be really, really valuable.
Yeah, I think definitely a very effective Rift Herald, especially since it was the second of the 2 Rift Heralds. Always being able to get the and 1 with Shelly is a big play, and you were able to do that here in this game. So, and not only that, it was on the mid lane tower as well. You just get so much control over it, as Dylan is going to be forced to utilize that hostile takeover. We got Akuma coming in with the Realm Warp. Dylan is going to be in trouble, going to get knocked up, and is going to be on the bailout. Will he be able to get up? He won't be able to. Akuma's going to be on a rampage, as Sprinkler is now going to be in a little bit of a tough position. Might be sacrificed for the cause. Kyler 1 is going to fall with a nice teleport from 67, and that's Loki Dozy being able to take down Sprinkler in a 2-for-1.
2-for-1 is not a bad trade. They get another kill. They can put a little bit of pressure down here in the bot lane now that they have also the value with the Yone being able to push. They did have teleport advantage on their side. I think Gumby's just came out just right now, which means that he couldn't have teleported at the same time as 67. But I feel like at that point you really don't need to. Just living up to those 2 kills, it's fine. You're getting the bot in the top lane, and as long as you don't lose something much more massive, it's still good enough to not use the teleport, especially with Dragon coming up in 55 seconds.
Yeah, 55 seconds for that Dragon. I think, you know, very importantly though, no shutdowns onto Akuma. No shutdown onto AMLO. Now second item online for this Rise, I think is a very viable threat. Realm Warp's going to be available for this dragon as well. So looking at Realm Warp, how does Realm Warp get utilized effectively here? Does everyone try to go for a flank? Do you use it for maybe, Gumby to be
I
able
think
to use
Leona
a good...
and Kyler, if I'm
Yeah.
honest. Those are, I think, the best two targets because Leona has the point and click CC, but also the solar flare that you can really get a lot of value with. And then Kyler really just wants to get on the backline to be able to get the maximum value out of his Wukong ultimate. If they are able to do that, everyone's here though.
Everyone is here, and the dragon is going to get
Oh,
started.
solar
The solar
flare.
flare is going to land onto Dylan. He's going to be able to get away using the Heartbreaker. Nice last great bait sealed onto number 2 Ginger. Number 2 Ginger is going to die as Akuma's going to be able to flash away. Smuggler is going to be low. That's going to be 1 kill for Lokidosi. Boss will take over his big from Phoenix. Maybe that's a double kill for the Aphelios. A huge hostile takeover from Phoenix main, and that's going to allow for a quadra kill for Lokidosi. I can't believe the power of this support. Lokidosi just continues to get play after play.
And Lokidosi gets the kills. Phoenix main does so much as a support, but I cannot overstate how much value 67 found in that fight. To me, the MVP of the fight is 67 because meanwhile the rest are keeping Lokidosi Aphelios alive, which I think a massive job of how they did it. 67 alone took down Sivir, took down Akuma, or at least from him out of the fight, and also was able to force Comping to a super bad spot. I think the win in this fight was massive and allows for the Aphelios to be the hyper carry that he can be. Ginger is the one that has to die, but in dying he allows for his team. And as a unit, you never want to do that, but it's all in great value because it's Baron buff for BGA. It's 8 kills for these Aphelios now, and taking the balance much more in favor of BGA with that fight.
Oh my goodness. No, it was definitely the sacrifice. It was definitely the sacrifice for the cause for VGA. Number 2 Ginger, 0, 3, and 5. You're now just 7 deaths away from that O10 power spike. So, you are very close to being able to be powerful again. But
Ginger just needs 5, okay?
he just needs the 5, the
Yeah.
O5 power spike?
He's 2 times as stronger.
I feel it. As we are going to just continue to play games. Phoenix main does not have hostile takeover yet, but now has it available in the next couple of seconds to go for a play here. Lokidosi with the Calibrum, going to be able to get a little bit of damage onto Akuma as this top lane minion wave is going to come through. Dylan is going to be there to be able to drop the Baron buff. The Call of Force God is going to come in. Phoenix main is going to be able to get away for the time being. Dylan's going to be able to walk through, but the Realm Warp is going to be available. Going to try to be able to keep everyone alive as Dylan is going to fall. Dylan will die, and Akuma will pick up a kill.
And pretty big mistake from Dylan. I think for the second biggest mistake I think that he has done so far this game, utilizing his positioning in such a bad manner where it's easier for uOttawa to try and take advantage. And it's because they don't have deeper vision than what they have. Like, they have not that bad vision inside of the enemy jungle, but it's not as deep as it can be. So they don't see Kyler coming in. They don't know the fact that with the Earthmates, it's pretty easy to engage onto the Viego, even if he tries to run away. And this time around, really nice use from uOttawa to try and stop any sort of engage from being dangerous. They don't have ultimates now to try and stop this kind of push, so I'm surprised that there's no more aggression, but at the same time they are a member down, so it's a pretty tough goal to go for here.
Root's going to land on the Kyler 1. That grabbed him. Definitely packing a punch as 67 is going to roam up to the top side of the rift. Baron available for another 40 seconds, and, not the most effective Baron yet, but if they are able to get a play here in the mid lane, it can be something that they can use effectively. Let's see if they're going to try to go for it. Number 2 Ginger is going to go in with the Fate Seal. Oh my god! Number 2 Ginger with a 3-man Fate Seal is going to be able to get 2 kills for 67. A double kill for the Gwen, and that's the play that they wanted with Baron. They'll take the mid-tier 1 tower, and they will just continue to add to this gold lead.
No ultimates on their side, that means that this is the go button time for the side of VGA. We talked about this, without ultimates it's pretty hard to not see the aggressiveness from the side of Ottawa being punished, and they get punished really effectively. The ultimate, though, from the side of VGA actually scared me a bit because they didn't hit the Wukong in that instance, so the Wukong could get the knockups out. But at the end, they have enough damage. 67 has enough damage, and they can close out the kills, and nobody dies as well, which is the biggest victory overall. Closing up on important gold deficits, particularly the one in the mid lane, it was much bigger previously, so it's getting shorter. And then in the top lane, now much more in favor for 67.
11,000 gold on this Gwen. Absolutely monstrous gold advantages right now for 67 and Lokidosi. 11,000 for each of them. Now,
That's
Akuma,
like your carry.
it's exactly what you like on your carry. At this point, number 2 Ginger is not a carry. He is an ult bot. You want him to land those multi-man fate seals, and you're happy with his performance at the moment, especially off of that last one. But keeping tax of everything else, though, it's an 8,000 gold lead for VGA. That is huge for them. Yes, absolutely. But the longer that this game goes on, the more powerful that Akuma becomes with now 3 items online. Going to be able to not only get the ornament, the Eye of Ludin, but now also with that Shadow Flame as well.
Ooh.
Going to be able to melt a little bit here as Lokidosi is going to be targeted in a play. Going to be a lot of damage. Lokidosi is going to be able to flash away. Another great Fate Seal from number 2 Ginger, and he's going to be able to come through. Massive damage from the Moonlight Vigil from Lokidosi. That flash saving his life, that cleanse saving his life, as Lokidosi wants a multi-kill once again. Going to be able to pick up another one as Phoenix Main will take down Gumby. Kyler 1 and Akuma are running for the hills. The Spectral Maw is going to be available, but it will not land. The teleport's going to come through for number 2 Ginger. He wants a kill on the board for the end of this game, and he gets it. That's number 2 Ginger picking up the 3rd in that fight. A 0-for-3 in favor of VGA as they move towards the mid lane inhibitor. They pick it up. 30 seconds remaining until Akuma returns, and this game might just be over. 67 is going to be able to shred this first Nexus Tower. Second Nexus Tower is now on the way as Sprinkler's going to try to come in, going to try to deal what TP they can, but gets obliterated. Ammo 12, still at full HP though, as VGA walks away.
With no minions, that means that they cannot end the game. But once again, I don't know how many times we've seen it, but it's Phoenix Main with the perfect time on the ultimate. Buys enough time for the Philus to be able to run away. And as long as the Philus doesn't die, great massive ultimate by Ginger, gets 3 members, then 67 comes in. And also, I'm not sure how it hit, but that also was a pretty big important factor. The ultimate from the Aphelios, the Moon, I think it's Moonlight Vigil?
Yeah.
Moonlight Vigil connects with the Infernum version, and that just blows out the Silver at the end. But Phoenix Main, those hostile takeovers have been so on point so far. The only one that I disliked was the first one. The rest have been perfect.
It was a warm-up. It was a warm-up, and for sure, Phoenix Main. I mean, at this point, like, the game is not over. It's an 11,000 gold lead now. Like, it's looking pretty grim for Ottawa here in Game 2, but despite what 67 has been able to do, I think that it's been Phoenix Main and being able to keep Lokidosi safe with these incredible hostile takeovers that have been the difference maker here in Game 2. Super powerful, and now has against that Putrefier with the Shurelya, so he's going to be able to not only provide extra movement speed, but also those grievous wounds. It's just everything going good for VGA as they pick up Baron, they add to their gold lead.
More value, even easier way to push into the base, especially against Silver Rise, where they can destroy minion waves quite easily with their wave clear. Having this Baron buff is going to be quite ideal for the side of VGA. And it was a pretty free Baron, there was no chance to contest it, but with the gold lead, it feels like it's almost impossible for it to happen. We may be close to the final fight of the game from Ottawa, and we need to see how they try and go for this.
They've got to be able to initiate something, and I do not think that it's here in the top lane. It is most likely going to have to be at Nexus. You have 1 Nexus tower remaining. You've got super minions pouring into the mid lane. You've got damage going into this top tier 1, or this tier 3 tower, as we also get the call of the Forge God onto Phoenix Main. The hostile takeover gonna land only onto Gumby. So that's not going to be available, but Gumby is going to be down to a very low amount of HP. Lokidos is going to be able to get the Moonlight Vigil. Oh my goodness, more damage with that Infernum. He has it every single time. He's going to be able to get a triple kill. He's looking for the Penta. He's not going to get the Penta kill, but he doesn't care. It's the ace for VGA, and it's a clean Game 2 win.
I 100% respect not giving the pentakill to the affiliates because you already did obscene things with that last ultimate anyway, so who cares about the pentakill? And like you're pointing out, it's a pentakill for a Game 2 victory for BGA, one step closer to that last game win and potentially just winning the whole finals.
Huge performances, I think, from Phoenix Main and 67 here in game number 2. Early game, though, has to go to Dylan being able to really capitalize on the rather strange performance from this Wukong here from Ottawa, deciding to go for these really risky early game ganks, losing tempo control, Dylan being able to get the first dragon, being able to get the first Rift Herald, being able to just, or not the first dragon, but the second dragon and the first Rift Herald, being able to have a gold lead against his lane opponent the entire game, really capitalizing across the map. But when we got into that team fight stage, number 2 Ginger with those last breaths, Phoenix Main with those phenomenal hostile takeovers, both allowing Lokidosi the opportunity and the time to drop those Inferno Moonlight Vigils and get multiple multi-kills throughout this game.
And those are the kind of things that we needed to see because after one of the fights that they lost and it felt kind of iffy going into the mid game for the side of PGA, recouping like that, Phoenix Main with that much of a good performance coming into those fights and then having 67 be one of the main carries, even though it wasn't as flashy as how Lucky Dosi performed. Having his performance coming in this game was pretty important. And for game 3, potentially as well, the mental edge feels to be on the side of BGA. They have found so many times answers that maybe Ottawa wasn't expecting BGA to be able to find. And now it's much more so than ever on the side of Ottawa to respond because they have run this similar kind of composition twice already, with a lot of priority onto the Ornn, the Wukong, and the Sivir. They need to adapt in some way, or die trying thinking that this is the only way that they can win and try it for a third time, but and see if there's a different result after that.
Yeah, we're gonna find out if they do want to just fall on the sword of the Ornn. I think we got to really talk about this draft a little bit more, but I do want to bring Sly back in here. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to go to a quick analyst desk before we get into draft for game 3. So go ahead, go take a little bit of a break yourselves, and in a couple of minutes, we will return with the beginning of potentially this final game of this series. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everybody, to Virtue Gaming. Virtue Gaming Ambition is now currently 1 game away. They have dominated this best of 5 series so far for the grand finals of the Unified Major League. I got Sly back in here, of course, with TDS as well to talk about these first 2 games. Sly, you predicted it. Clean 2-0s, and it's currently looking really good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if the first game was completely clean. I was a little slow at first, but yeah, no, it's been about as good as you can draw it up, Moose. So I'm pretty pumped. TDS, what are your thoughts?
I feel like if not for the couple of mistakes that I feel like are not needed at all, like it has been a pretty comfortable series so far for BGA. Particularly
Mhm.
with how they play with Okidosi. Like every time that they understand that Lukidosi will be the one to carry, they just play so effectively around that fact and they just allow for him to carry. And it feels like it's easy to do, especially after saying it like that. But it goes to show their level of communication because it really was hard in some of those fights. And it goes to show how well the team is operating around each of their members.
I think that one of the big components to that, which you guys have mentioned in the cast, has been Phoenix Main is in the right hand pocket of Loki Dozy at all times. There is no one ever going to be able to threaten Loki without getting through Phoenix Main. And when you have that sort of kind of understanding of a role, it allows everyone else to be a little more freed up with being able to do other things. So, for example, in the last game, you had the Yone. He could freely dive. He never had to worry about playing any sort of backline. He could do whatever he wants. The Gwen, she can do whatever she wants. She can do, quite crazy stuff, quite a bit of damage, especially anytime they got some people lined up with the linear R. A lot of damage coming through, and because of that, they're also understanding of the way they need to move back and forth. You can't overcommit. You can't move too far forward and leave your back line behind because you're not going to be able to have um, that sort of cohesion of damage. Because once you get so far out, your backline isn't able to follow up on the damage that you're outputting, so you're not able to target stuff down. And I think that is one of the things that Ambition clearly knows at a very high level. Their coaching is excellent. Their comms are excellent, and their understanding. And this isn't. It's not something that they honestly put together in the middle of the game. This is something they've been training and doing for season on season now, and we saw it in VTS. We've seen it throughout the regular season and in the playoffs here with UML, and now we're seeing it again. And I think it's just very beautiful, and it all goes to go and or all goes to say how cohesive the unit is, especially in these team fights, which I think is really where VGA stands apart from other teams. So we saw in the first game, little bit of some mix up into macro, early mid game macro, some stuff going on around at Herald,
Mhm.
some stuff going on in the top lane where we saw some macro moves that were trying to they're trying to sneak up on the top lane through a lane gank, and then they end up getting a 4-man collapse on them. They lose 2 members. So I think that Ottawa has a strong understanding of the early game map movements, but I just think VGA is very solid in these team fights. And as long as Loki Dosi is even or even has a lead, like he gets a random triple, I don't see how Ottawa's going to be able to rope it back in like that.
Very much so. Really quick before we move forward and talking about these games a little bit more, thank you, Aegis, for dropping
Ooh.
by, giving us that raid. Everyone, if you guys are just joining in, this is the grand finals of the Unified Major League. Currently, Virtue Gaming Ambition is up 2-0 against the University of Ottawa. Team Garnet are looking to be able to take the clean sweep here in game number 3. But of course, Aegis gotta shout them out really quickly. Check out some of their content. They have tournaments running every single weekday from IBS all the way up to Master Grand Master. Definitely check them out. They are a phenomenal group. They employ both TDS and I during periods of the week. TDS, of course, doing his Legends of Runeterra stuff, which he knows Virtue Gaming and their Legends of Runeterra
There are things.
content that comes through as well. So definitely appreciate Aegis for coming through. But I want to, before we get into this draft for game 3, I have been very critical of Ottawa's drafts in these first 2 games, but I want to hear your thoughts, Sly. If you have any thoughts at all about maybe some opportunities for Ottawa to maybe draft a little bit better.
So one of the things that you guys kind of commented on was in the last draft was maybe a little bit of weakness in the front line from VGA. And so one of the things I think is interesting with comps like that at this level is that sometimes you can execute comps without the traditional front line that you would want in like a solo queue. And that's one of the things I think that they need to figure out. How can they put 67, 67 on stilts, one of the things we've seen in, like, for example, last week we saw, I don't recall the team's name or the top laner's name, but he was playing Aatrox, I believe in game 2, the top laner that 67
Yeah.
was against. And although I think 67 is fine, playing into that, especially because he's a good poppy player, we've seen some talented top laners be able to outlaying both Ginger and 67 with some of those more skill dependent picks. So I think that is an area that they could try to exploit rather than trying to beat Loki Dosi at his own game. I don't think that they want to do that. I don't think you can at this point. I think you should realize that hey, this team is probably a better team fighting team than us. Maybe we need to figure out other hit and run tactics. So I'd like to see they pulled out the Ash support earlier, for example. I'd like to see some sort of Ash movement with maybe some other pseudo uh, map mobility type of champion, maybe a Shen or a TF or even I don't think Nocturne's very strong right now, but even Nocturne. Something like that to where you can create some sort of a mid-game pressure and apply global map control. I think that would be, or even a mobile either assassin from the jungle or mid, something like that, where you can create some sort of mid-game pressure and get the game to be more chaotic rather than traditional front to back, because clearly that's just not working for Ottawa.
Yep. I feel like it's
Agreed.
hard to go against that.
Yeah, I think that that's a pretty solid analysis there, Sly. Thank you for coming through. As we are now ready to begin the draft. Any final words? Oh, I guess Sly is out of here. But any final words, Sly?
Did I disconnect? I didn't mean to. I'm still in the call, but no final words. Just rooting for a 3-0 here. You guys don't put any evil on me, and I hope that we have no more water dragons because it's raining like crazy here in Phoenix. So
Hmm.
maybe not a water dragon. Maybe like whatever dries up water, infernal or earth or whatever
Fire or
Inferno.
earth?
mountain,
Something?
something like that. All right.
Let's go. Let's do it. Yeah, thank you so much, Sly, for coming in, being an analyst for us, talking about the game and this series as a whole. We are already into the draft here for game number 3. Ottawa now very much behind the 8 ball. They are currently 0 games to 2 in favor of VGA, and of course VGA looking to go for that clean sweep. Ottawa bans out the Poppy in game 2. This time, not allowing Logidosi to play that Ophelio is going to ban it out, leaving the Poppy open, and the Seraphine going to be unlocked here.
And this time around, they do go for the Seraphine. Senna once again is not picked, but I like that they have the Poppy, particularly because Poppy was such a huge, impactful champion in the first game. And one thing that Sly has been telling that we saw in the first game as well, the flexibility potential with the Poppy in the jungle and top lane. I think that it's something so valuable for BGA. Now, Cillian picked by Ottawa. This has been a pick that has been banned, I think, consistently on the second round of bans after the first 2 picks. So I find it interesting that they opted for this right now. And I want to see where it does fall into. But I feel like this is going to be a mid lane pick and not a support pick. And then Misfortune.
Yeah, Zillion can go into a flexible role. Of course, if you're a Bjergsen fan, if you are an LCS fan, if you are just a League of Legends fan, you've seen the power of a Zillion in the mid lane being able to get those time bombs, be
Yep.
able to capitalize really effectively in the mid to late game with those chrono shifts. Zeri and Trundle both love being able to get extra movement speed, to be able to skate around the map, and to be able to just get on to their targets really effectively. So a solid lineup, I think, here for Ottawa. And what do you know, TDS? No Ornn bans yet. There's no Ornn bans yet. There's no Wukong bans. Nothing like that. Of course, Trundle is going to be the jungler, but there's still the opportunity for Ottawa to get that Ornn in the top lane. But now their composition just feels so much more flexible.
Yep, it can be a bit more interesting seeing what Ottawa does opt into. It would be interesting seeing VGA as well picking the Orn themselves and trying to say, you can do it, but
It would
we can. And that would be pretty great. But they do have a Trundle, so I think that it maybe goes against the idea of picking the Orn. It's going to be potentially the Ari, though, after all the mid lane bans, 5 mid lane bans coming in from the side of VGA. Ari gets picked, and we have seen number 2 Ginger play this Ari. He can play this really well and can try and achieve a lot of picks for the set of VGA, but that also means that it's Seraphine support. And I want to see what they picked against it. If it's going to be the Silly and Seri, or if they have other tools, like this could be a pretty good Brom game, if I'm honest, against what VGA has drafted.
I agree. And the Zillion can go into the mid lane. And
Okay, it's not.
I do think that VGA, and especially number 2 Ginger, is throwing down the gauntlet against Akuma. Whenever a team focuses all of their bans on an opponent, they are saying, hey, you are the person that we can capitalize off of the most. And VGA has definitely pinched LeBlanc's pool. And it's one of the reasons why when I see three mid lane bans or three bans in a single role in the first part of the ban phase, I think that it's very important for the opposing team to pick that lane in the first three picks so you don't get pinched even more. Five mid lane bans definitely going to focus in on just how well Akuma can play here in the mid lane. We don't know how much experience he has on LeBlanc or how much experience the team has playing with the LeBlanc. So, really, really interested to see how that is going to be played out as the rest of the draft does get locked in. The Gnar, a nice stable top laner, is going to go up against the Poppy as the Nocturne. Lights out.
I love this
VGA
so
with
much.
that R5 Nocturne.
I think that is probably one of the smartest picks that you can opt into here. Not because a Nocturne essentially counters anything or everything from uOttawa, and there's nothing that they can do. But the thing is that the ultimate from Nocturne, Paranoia, taking away vision from every member from Ottawa against a composition that has Anchor and the Bullet Rain from the, I think it's Make It Rain, or no, it's,
Make it
I
rain.
think, no, but I mean they are.
Oh, that's bullet time.
Yeah, bullet time, having bullet time and encore together when there's no vision at all into members that do have mobility but can get killed quite easily with these ultimates can be so massive. And I feel like if BGA plays this accordingly, Ottawa can not get even a chance to try and go aggressively in any play because they can just get countered immediately. I really like the Nocturne picking here. It's going to be Nocturne jungle, which means that it's Poppy top, but I still think that this pick is going to be so good this game.
hmm Nocturne can, I think, jungle well against Trundle, but in the early stages of the game, Nocturne definitely feels the power of early game Trundle. Just
Yeah.
one chomp landing slows the Nocturne, means that there's very little opportunity for him to be able to escape, especially if that pillar lands. And so you're really looking to be able to see that fear being able to land onto the Trundle from the Nocturne. If Dylan is able to get that, he might be able to survive, but I am expecting, and I think that we need to see Ottawa playing hyper aggressive in the early stages of the game to try to shut down this Nocturne. Make sure you have as much time as possible before Nocturne gets six. Make sure that those paranoias are as ineffective as possible. And the best way to do that is to be aggressive in VGA's jungle, getting the wards down near the Gromp Pit, near the Raptors, near the Krugs, so that there's fewer angles where Ottawa can be caught off guard when that paranoia gets dropped. If you're able to drop those deep wards, which Trundle is able to do, which LeBlanc is able to do, and to an effect, Zeri and Zillion can do the same thing, you're
Yeah.
going to be able to be a lot more protected here, and that's going to give you that objective control that you need.
Which is a pretty important tool to try and play around with and not get caught into the just immediate burst fire that will be those team fighting those team fights if BGA get what they really want to. So it's a lot of control that it's going to be needed to achieve. It's a lot of early game tempo that needs to go in the favor of Ottawa. Their early moves, like you're pointing out, controlling the Nocturne, not allowing for them to get a lot of vision control, particularly in the early objectives, is going to be so ideal. But at level 6, that's going to be a much harder situation to manage. And I feel like if Ottawa doesn't have a lead, by minute 15, I can see them not really finding the avenues to try and close out against BGA. Like they have good champions, and Seri is Seri, and Cillian can be a pretty good late game support as well. But I just feel like there's so many things that need to go in Ottawa's favor for BGA to not actually for BGA to not get a lot of control and get the win.
I think so as well. I think you bring up a good point there is, there is maybe a little bit of a ticking time bomb against Ottawa with the power of
Yeah.
the RMS Fortune and Seraphine. One bullet time, one encore bullet time combination on the multiple members of Ottawa, that's going to potentially be the game. And Loki Dosi has shown that he can take early game advantages and turn them into late game wins here in the bottom lane. I think, the eyes are on number 2 Ginger, who had some pretty great encores in game 1 to potentially play well with the Ari in game 2. It's one of his highest picked mid lane champions, so he's
Yeah.
getting exactly what he wants out of this composition. He's going to be able to play a carry champion, and we get a chance to see if Phoenix main can pull off another phenomenal support game. So all eyes are now currently on VGA and the opportunity for them to take the clean sweep against Ottawa. TDS, I'm going to shake things up a little bit. I'm going to say that we're going to see a Infernal Soul here in game 3.
I'm going to go for Mountain. I feel like it's going to be rocky.
It's going to be rocky. It's a rocky road right now for Ottawa. Chat, let us know what you guys think the Dragon is going to be. Always like to know what you guys' thoughts are and if your predictions are correct. With that being said, we are less than 2 minutes away from the spectator delay getting completed when we return. The third and potentially final game of this best of 5 series in the Unified Majors League is going to begin. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
So hold our heads up high and beat the drums to what we love. Risk but follow, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding, only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all fight at the last strike. Hearing voices from afar, join the madness when the curtain falls. Risk it all, hold nothing back. Seize the day, we must attack. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding. Only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giants? Can we make the final call? We are the ones to ignite the darkened skies, the champions of a world that we defy. A soul ray of the few who rise up high, and we all
Welcome back, everybody, to Virtue Gaming. Ambition is now currently 1 game away, and they are red side once again. All eyes on Loki Dosi and this Misfortune. Can this MF have another highlight performance like Loki was able to do on this Aphelios? And will AMLO finally have a game where they're able to get ahead in the laning phase? Really looking to see how this bottom lane plays out.
It's double Comet bot lane. I feel like this just feels so hard for it to give advantage to the Seri unless there's a pretty early gank that turns into just the kills for the Seri and she can snowball. But looking at where the junglers are, actually the Trundle will start on the bot side, so we may get a cheesy level 2 gank coming in from Ottawa, which can turn into the lead for the Seri. And importantly, Misfortune and Seraphine are not the most mobile of champions, so those are 2 champions that you can take advantage of early on.
No way. If Kyler1 tries to go for a cheese level 2 in the bottom lane, I will sue. I won't allow it. If you're a J4, maybe, but that is such a coin flip there in the bottom lane. If you do not get the play, if you do not get that first blood onto AMLO, like, the game is over at that point. We've seen Dylan be able to rotate around the map effectively, so not going to be the case. But once again, Kyler1 is going to skip 2 of his camps on one side, go straight over to the double buff, so he might still be looking for a play.
Could be, and looking at the top lane potentially is an interesting decision, not one that I was expecting to see particularly because I think the Gnar will get the push, and with the push, trying to gank this Poppy may be hard, but maybe with the push of the Gnar, and if LeBlanc has the advantage, 3 buffs into invading the enemy jungle to see if he can get something out of the Nocturne early on could be the case.
Maybe thinking that that Dylan is going to be on the bottom side of the rift, but because there weren't any wards dropped on the side of VGA, they have no idea where Dylan is at. And if it does end up being the case where they do decide to go for a potential invade into the jungle, not going to be able to find him at the red buff, but doesn't appear to be the case here. Kyler1 going for the Gromp, going for the Blue Sentinel, and then going for the Wolves. We'll have to wait and see what his gank decision is as he moves towards the topside river.
Honestly surprised with the decision to go into the Wolves after the gank, so after the 3 buff, like, I feel like if you're going to go for that kind of route, you're incentivizing to go for a gank, so not getting a gank off early on, kind of interesting because Dylan at this phase will be able to farm quite nicely and then go for the Scatter Crop. Yep, Kyler still doesn't get anything in the mid lane, so nothing turns out of the decision to go for this kind of pathing, which is surprising to see.
And this is what I'm trying to get. Kyler1 now finally going to be able to get that Scuttle Crab is still in the mid lane. There is no knowledge of this as Kyler1 is looking to be able to try to find the flash. The chains do not land, and number 2 Ginger is going to put them into the waiting arms of Dylan. Dylan's going to be able to get the flea onto Kyler1. Kyler1 is now very much in trouble, and Dylan is going to be still at full HP. Going to flash forward. First blood, a double kill for Dylan as he just continues to be OP here in the early game. 2
kills for the Nocturne at minute 4. That's something that you certainly don't want to hear if you're playing against a Nocturne, and if you're playing as the Nocturne, you love to hear, because now level 6 comes in quicker. That means that his power spike will be much likely to happen before the 10-minute mark, and that is going to be so good for them. Oh, Seri.
Yeah, Ignite's going to use as Akuma's going to go forward, going to get hit by the Fear though, as Dylan is now going to be in trouble. He is potentially going to get shut down. No, he's not! He's still going to be able to stay alive. He's actually still going to be able to heal up. He doesn't go down. And it's another kill for Dylan. It's a killing spree. What the heck is Ottawa doing? This is not the play that you want to be doing in a grand finals as AMLO down to less than 100 HP.
I feel like they saw the window because the fact that Dylan didn't have flash and then he didn't back either, so if the Trundle is here,
oh no,
I can see, okay, 4 kills for Dylan. This is potentially
oh bad. No, he's gonna get it. Oh, he will die.
Actually.
Yeah, the Ethereal Chains will drop. Akuma's going to be able to get the blue buff, but we'll have to back. Phoenix Main will get hit by a time bomb, but will be able to survive. Potentially. Yeah, we'll be fine,
Yeah,
but
he's fine.
huge play for VGA.
So the damage is in some way done anyway, because the Nocturne has two components off of the bag that he's getting right now. Level 5 and route to level 6, and the LeBlanc with the kill just got an amplifying tome, something that number 2 Ginger already had. Not much of an advantage out of the shutdown, and then bot lane is completely destroying the Seri and the Cillian as well, with the lead that they were able to get, apart from the plate. And the lead in the top lane is not high enough for it to actually matter compared to what happened in the bot side. So for the side of Ottawa, this is such an awful start, but for the BGA believers, this is so good.
Yeah, Akuma, though, going to try to be able to get away. Another nice fear. A lot of damage,
nice.
but the distortion will be able to get Akuma away, but without teleport and without any pots. Akuma is now on the back burner. There's just no way that he's going to be able to push forward.
Is he staying here? That could be
Oh my god,
dangerous.
he wants it.
Well, there's no flash on either though, so
Okay, gonna be able to get a little bit of damage. Gonna take a couple of turret shots.
Oh.
The orb. Okay, execute onto Dylan. Actually doesn't give any gold over to Akuma, so a great turn of events there for BGA. As a Charm will land on the Kyder 1, that will end the play potentially here.
Remembers-
Ginger. Woo-hoo-hoo. That
fine.
slender figure
he's actually-
not going to be fine. Gonna end up falling eventually. A great pillar of ice from Kyler 1.
he just needed to run away. The Cillian doesn't matter, it's the pillar that at the end happened, and that is a kill back into the pockets of Ottawa. A bit of a comeback in that sense, but at the same time, it's not amplifying what they need to do at this point, because the problem still lies there. Dylan is close to level 6. Bot lane is still losing quite effectively. Seri got nothing out of that play. And then in the mid lane, they were able to punish De LeBlanc once again. Look at the difference in items. Like, she didn't get anything. So she's now lost chapter behind compared to the Ari.
Yeah, I mean, does have that Dark Seal. Lost the stacks, unfortunately, as Dylan is now looking to be aggressive against Kyler 1. Has the Paranoia ready to go, but this could potentially be a collapse on to Dylan, who is now very aggressive here. Going to be able to find Akuma now in the jungle. Going to be able to get the
Run away
fear,
always.
but will get rooted. Dylan now potentially in trouble. Going to be able to utilize the movement speed from the Q to be able to get away. Will be just fine.
With level 6, it's hard for Dylan to not find avenues to escape, even though the flash is down. And also the fact that the other members are not really able to achieve much. Like, the Blank double chained the Nocturne, and that still was barely a problem in that regard. It was mostly on the Trundle and on the Nart to be able to stop this Nocturne. And it really didn't matter at all.
You know, I really we gotta really look back at Kyler 1 here. 1-2-0. Gonna be in second component for that Divine Sunder, so somewhat decent position, just in terms of game stage. But the last two games, game 2 and game 3, Kyler 1 has tried to go for these cheesy plays, skipping camps into a potential gank, only for it to fail spectacularly to give VGA an advantage. Looking back at these games, I do want to emphasize that, you know, the decision to go for that early gank mid lane, to skip camps, is now just compounding the problems for Ottawa. They're not able to contest for this dragon. They're now going to have an issue with potentially being able to contend to the Rift Herald, and that's where Ottawa is kind of struggling right now, is the fact that Kyler 1, being the early game Trundle, just isn't able to be effective.
And that is a pretty big problem, like you're pointing out, the fact that the Nocturne goes so scot-free to be able to go,
Okay, Flash is going to be used, so you get a lot of damage. The Encore is going to land,
that is so nice.
and Kyler 1 will give the double buffs over to Phoenix main. Ammo 12 and Sprinkler did not know where the play was happening, so they weren't able to get there. Static Shirt is going to land. The Trump's going to land on AMLO, as we do get Dylan going to be able to get away thanks to a nice
the
flash.
revive.
Number 2 Ginger, though, going to flash forward and will get punished for the effort. Akuma picking up an extra 300, so across the Rift, a 1-for-1.
and they saw the potential kill and got baited in their eyes. They get the kill on the Trundle, but giving over a kill to the LeBlanc once again, I think not the best of choices. Still, Nocturne gets out alive. The Ari, yes, may have died, but it's not the worst of news. And they did get the double buffs as well off of the Trundle, so it is value going quite a bit in favor of PGA. Ideally, I think they would have liked to have those double buffs into the pocket of Dylan, but because of the amount of time that they took for it to happen, and the fact that the LeBlanc was able to get the kill off of the area as well, Herald is now in the window for the side of Ottawa to get, and Poppy as well is so far away. I don't think they can go for this without ultimates either.
Yeah, no paranoia for Dylan, no flash for Dylan either. Rift Herald will get taken by Kyler 1. A much needed influx of gold that they're going to be able to utilize moving into the next couple of minutes. They will be able to confirm some turret plates across to the Rift. But VGA, playing very aggressive, playing very loose, just kind of similarly to what they did in Game 1. They're definitely feeling confident, but a little over-aggressive in the side of Ottawa's jungle has cost them what could have been a very large lead.
They ideally, even if they are confident and they have the confidence to go for plays, they need to understand that they are still in finals. So they have to give respect to the opponent, not to overcommit and not throw away plays that they in reality don't need to. Like the first kill that they got into the Trundle was fine. Following up on that was way more greedy, but I can understand the angle where they were coming from, especially if they get an early kill into the Seri. They didn't, and that just turned completely bad. But I feel like as long as they just go for the plays that they certainly can get the most of, it's completely fine. And I like that they are looking for this because there's no flash or cleanse on the Seri. There is ultimate on the Cillian, but it's still a pretty good opportunity. Ooh.
As the initiation comes through,
so
a
good.
great wombo combo. Phoenix Man going to be able to get the Encore on to AML, who's going to get rooted. He's going to fall and is going to be gone out of this fight. No Chrono Shift either with a double kill for number 2 Ginger. Spirit Rush is going to be able to get reset as Akuma's going to be able to get away. The bullet time! Loki Dozy is going to be able to pick up the second kill for them. And the buckler shot onto Gumby Power. That is 4 kills to nothing. VGA favored.
Complete and utter disaster moves. Everything falling down for the side of Ottawa. I think it's better said, crumbling down for Ottawa. They tried to respond to the playing bot lane, but they just burst out the series so quickly. Even with the Cillian ultimate, it matters absolutely nothing. Ares first to the play. They get the value out of their champions. Miss Fortune wasn't even forced to use ultimate until the end of that fight. I also gotta say, Phoenix Main, the anchor connection with the Nocturne to get the connection onto the series was so beautiful to see. And this is the best that Ottawa can hope to achieve. Get the plates into the LeBlanc to try and get some gold back. But it just simply feels like it's not going to be enough at this point.
I mean, at this point now, with a 4,000 gold advantage, 13 minutes into the game, and with that gold onto your carries, it's definitely not a good position for Ottawa. And you look at those 4 kills at potentially the end of definitely the end of the early game, but potentially going to be the end of this game, as we do get to see Dylan now potentially in trouble. Will use a paranoia defensively on to Gumby Power to be able to get back under tower. Will be able to do so as Gumby Power is going to get hit by the Chrono Shift. Is going to be resurrected at 67. Now in trouble. Going to fall as Phoenix Main is now coming through. Number 2 Ginger is going to be able to get the charm on to Akuma. Spear Rush is now about ready, and number 2 Ginger wants multiple kills. He knows that he can try to do for it. He's going to try to go for it. He's going to be able to pick up 1. He gets the resets once. He gets the resets potentially twice. No, he doesn't. Number 2 Ginger going to get shut down as Phoenix Main is going to try to flash away. It's another misplay from VGA as a double kill goes over to Gumby Power.
It feels like in each game they have to go for a play that goes horribly wrong for them, because each game has had this sort of moment for PGA. They still are ahead in gold and they still have the lead, but it's really not necessary to go for this kind of plays. They were so far ahead that it doesn't even matter. If you lose the Nocturne or the Poppy, you don't need to give them more things to try and get it back. And I think number 2 Ginger, I understand the decision making, how he went for great exhaust timing by the Cillian, but I feel like not just straight up committing to be much more aggressive in getting the kills and utilizing those resets as aggressively as possible cost the life of number 2 Ginger in that play. Still, they are ahead. They can still manage to utilize this gold lane in their favor. Misfortune is low, but I think that they can win this fight down here.
As we do get the first tower, does go down in the bottom lane. I don't think that anyone was there for local gold, as Dylan is going to be able to get the fear on to Gumby Power. Ultimate for the Gnar is ready, and Dylan's going to be forced to flash away. Phoenix Main is going to be targeted, though, as the Paranoia is going to drop, and the initiation into the fight. Dylan.
Oh, the angle.
Gonna come through. Logidos is gonna be able to get the bullet time, but Kyler 1 is not dead. The subjugate's gonna be used. 67 trying to be able to go for the peel, but that is Loki getting shut down. Number 2, Ginger and Dylan are both out of the fight as Gumby is now back. Gumby wants kills. Gumby gets 1, and Gumby is looking for more. He gets 2. 67's gonna dash forward, gonna give a double kill potentially now, and ace over
really
to
bad.
Ottawa, as Akuma now potentially going to be in trouble. That's 67 at least being able to pick up a kill, so that is 2 kills for 4. Maybe a little bit more, though. We got number 2 Ginger up in 12 seconds. 67 trying to be able to do what he can. Going to be able to dash forward. He gets another kill. Killing spree for the Poppy, but a shutdown against him. That going over to Gumby Power. 3 kills for the Gnar, as the teleport is now going to come in for number 2 Ginger. This fight is not over yet.
It actually saves the dragon what 67 was able to achieve in that fight, and a pretty awful fight coming in from BG8, completely disjointed. They didn't have anchor. The Phoenix Maid dies really at the start of the fight, and even though I like the angle that Loki found, at the end it was just onto the LeBlanc that had the ultimate from the Sicilian on top of her, so it didn't really matter. She got revived. BJ needs to find those fights, but they need to fight them as a unit together. Because if they are separated like it just happened, it's so easy for the side of Ottawa to run them down. Like, they thrive in that sort of chaos.
Hey, it's an Infernal Rift, an Infernal Soul here in Game 3. I don't know what's going on. TDS.
I'm not. Dragons hate me for some reason now.
I guess. But you know what? Next time we cast, you're gonna get all 3 of them. You're gonna get all 3 of them. I'm sure that that's going to happen. But first 2 dragons gonna go over to the side of BGA. They still are rewarded for that effort. Rift Herald is going to be taken by Kyler 1, so both Rift Heralds going to get taken by Ottawa. Number 2 Ginger is going to be caught out of position, and that's a god-like Gnar, 7-1 and 2.
Pretty easy solo kill over in the Gnar. Now, this is the kind of thing I expect to see on an assassin, not on a Gnar that is supposed to be a more bruisery champion, but it still works out. Gets the solo kill and stop the sideline push from number 2 Ginger. We may see another potential kill.
Hey, let's see if they're going to be able to get it. Another nice damage in onto Akuma, as Akuma's going to get hit by the Chrono Ship, but the teleport is going to come through from Gumby Power. Gumby Power is going to get slowed. 67's going to get exhausted. 67's going to get stunned. And there's the kill for Oni Akuma. Be able to take down 67, and that's going to even out the gold and the kills.
It's amazing how Ottawa, without having a Nocturne or any sort of better side lane champion, is responding better in the side lane plays. Like, when you have a Nocturne, you expect the Nocturne to be able to run down those sort of plays and win the 1v2s in the side lane. Oh, Ginger, you have the 3 rushes.
1-for-1 should be able to get it. Yep, does get it with the Spirit Rush and the Charm. So, not now the worst case scenario with Akuma down for 30 seconds. Dylan's gonna try to take the blue buff, but
Fight.
I don't know if they're gonna get it. Yeah, Kyler 1 will get the blue buff, but is he gonna be able to get out of it? Should be able to. He wants to scrap. I don't know if he wants that, though. I don't know if that's gonna be a good play. Dylan's gonna come through and be able to get some damage on the Kyler. He's going to get charmed, and Subjugate doesn't even get any effect. That's gonna be the Trundle going down, just playing with fire. And now we're going to get a team fight here on the map. A great spell shield from Dylan to be able to stop the Gnar ultimate from even happening. That's going to be the Paranoia coming in. 67's going to be able to take down AMLO. And the timing is almost perfect. Baron up in 30 seconds.
They took the fight 50 seconds earlier. They needed to take that as soon as Baron spawned. They still win the fight, which is the most important thing. They are able to get some gold back into their pocket, even get this turret down, which can allow for them to gain control back into their favor to try and get some vision and then opt into the Baron or the Dragon. But you really, if you're on BGA's side, you really wanted that Dragon to cop that Baron to be down just as they got that fight. So it's a lot of gold that they are getting anyway.
They sure are. I mean, there was a lot of standing gold on the Rift for VGA to get, and they are able to pick up 2 outer structures for their efforts.
Copy.
67 though, nice play from Akuma. Gonna be able to utilize the torsion
like that.
effectively. And Sprinkler's now on the way. I mean, can 67 win this? He's gonna be able to get the Keeper's Verdict, gonna get the stun
so,
onto Sprinkler. Massive damage, gonna be able to get the knockup onto Akuma.
I didn't actually believe in 67, and he almost won the 2v1. The 3v1 was almost impossible, but the 2v1 was actually close to being won.
Oh, I think he won that. I think he did win that for sure.
He didn't die, actually, so yeah.
Yeah, he for sure won that one. Didn't take any summoner spells, but the fact that he was able to magnetize 3 members of that top lane and not die is pretty impressive. Very, very cool play.
100%. It also means that for the dragon, spawning in 40 seconds, he didn't die, have to spend anything, or lose any sort of pressure on the side of VGA, which is always ideal to have. Seri doesn't die this time around, she didn't walk too far forward, and importantly as well, control over the red side jungle achieved much more by the side of VGA.
Okay, Sprinkler gonna be able to get that extra little bit of movement speed from his Z. Will be able to get away from the route from Phoenix main, so definitely important that he didn't die there. Definitely very important that Chrono Shift is going to be available moving into this dragon fight. Now remember, if we do get to see the dragon go over to VGA, that's going to be Dragon Soul point potentially for them in the next couple of minutes.
I don't think they're fighting this.
Very interesting. I don't understand the decision there from Uottawa. Maybe it was because they didn't get river control?
The thing is that walking blindly into this sort of composition that BGA has, like we've talked about, paranoia, it takes away even more vision that you already don't have. Then the fact that you're against a Seraphine and a Misfortune that have to create ultimates into small spaces is so difficult for you. And then when you think about the fact that BGA also with Ari and all those things away.
Yeah, hold that thought. Tons of damage. The charm lands, and AMLO will fall. That's going to be the 20th kill of the game for VGA.
So, think this, but magnified into 5 members and the fact that there's a Misfortune ulti. I don't think they can get this here, although the bank has jumped soon enough. Yeah.
Nice spell shield with the flash for flash. Kyler 1 going to get charmed and slowed. As he tries to come through, he's going to be able to get the Frozen Waste. Nice dodge of the Ethereal Chains.
I think
Dylan survives.
Or no, actually.
Ooh! Let's get a check on that. Let's see how much AP. That got to be less than 10 on Nocturne. Yeah.
61.
Yeah, very little there. Nicely done.
Survived by the skin of his teeth, but the skin is just enough to survive, and that's what matters as well for BGA. Gets a kill, don't die, they blow flash from Kyler as well, so equal traits in that scenario. And now we need to see what BGA opts into for the next big fight, if they want to have a fight, and if not, if they want to try and get a pick around the Baron, because that's the current biggest objective available for them.
Actually, it's actually TDS a flash advantage for VGA because Akuma flashed as well.
Akuma flashed, yeah.
Yeah, so big summoner spells down for a potential Baron fight. They don't have to take it immediately. This is just like we saw in Game 1. VGA, with the Dragon Soul point available, can go for the Soul when the Dragon is potentially there to spawn. And on top of that, the flashes for both Kyler 1 and Akuma will not be up for when the Dragon comes up in 3 minutes. So, big summoner spells going to be missed. A missed opportunity for University of Ottawa. And now, once again, VGA has the chance to be able to take control of this game.
They really are forcing it down. Ooh, trying to steal some of the camps. Dylan needs to be careful. Okay, I think it's fine. I think.
Yeah, gonna be okay. Gumby Power does not have Mega Gnar available, and maybe that's what they were looking for. They were looking to be able to potentially get that Mega Gnar away from Gumby Power to maybe go for a Baron fight, and that is exactly what they did. Once Baron is started, Gumby Power will not be in Mega.
that is a pretty important thing to keep in mind. Mega Gnar here is so massive. Even though Gnar can deal damage, Mega Gnar is so good. But 67 and number 2 Ginger doing such a good job to keep them at bay. And there's also the Hammer in case they are way too close. But this Baron is done. That's it.
This Baron is gone, and Dylan is going to be able to secure it. Baron Nash are going to go over to VGA as they will use the Shurelius from Phoenix Main to be able to get away. 67 might be the sacrificial Yordle. No, going to be able to utilize the Keeper's Verdict and the extra movement speed that they get to be able to get away maybe. Going to get rooted. Going to be able to flash away. Can he survive? No Keeper's Verdict. The Paranoia is going to get used. A ton of damage onto Kyler 1 as Kyler 1 will fall. The Encore doesn't land on anybody. That doesn't matter. Dylan is going to be able to go into stasis. Oh my god, he survives once again with less than 10 HP. And it's a disaster for Ottawa. Not only do they get Baron, but VGA is able to pick up 3 kills, pardon me.
And they lose absolutely nothing. Nobody dies on the side of VGA. Now they can get control once again. Dragon spawning in 1 minute, which means that they can back completely. There's a trade of kills in the top side between the Ahri and the Gnar. I honestly think that leaving the Gnar alive was completely relevant. Even if he is able to back up, there's nothing of value there. Giving up the shutdown, I think it's much worse, but it's still advantage for VGA. Like, they get everything they wanted. They get Baron, they get a teamfight win, and now they get to completely control the side of the Dragon. They also have teleport on Ginger, so he can join whenever he wants. And Ottawa, they need to find another fight because now it's Soul. It's the actual Soul, and they have no control over it.
I mean, imagine if Kyler 1 and Akuma had Flash in that last play. Imagine if they didn't try to go for a kill against Dylan. Imagine if they didn't have to worry about not having Flash, as Paranoia is going to get used, and it's going to be onto Akuma, who doesn't have Flash, is going to get hit by the Fear. But Dylan is now going to potentially be in trouble. Has the Guardian Angel, however. So go and have an opportunity to potentially be able to get away as Ginger is going to now come in with that teleport. A great Keeper's Verdict from 67 is going to put Kyler 1 in a terrible position. And Dylan just continues to survive, has 9 lives as this Nocturne.
And he maybe has
Mega Gnar ultimate coming in, massive Mega Gnar, but there's no follow-up for the rest of Ottawa. As we get a teleport going to come through from Akuma, is going to come back, trying to be able to do what he can, going to try to be able to get away, but is going to get rooted, going to get destroyed, as Lokidos is going to be on a rampage. Meanwhile, 67, able to get the Chrono Shift off of Sprinkler, is making sure that Gumby Power and Sprinkler are not able to be part of the fight. Number 2, Ginger will die to AMLO, but it's going to be the Dragon Soul going over to VGA. 67 survives with the skin of his teeth. It's a double kill for Lokidosi and the pseudo ace for VGA.
It's Ginger dying once again, but everyone else has the Dragon buff, everyone else has the Baron buff, and they're going to keep on pushing. You say that Dylan has 9 lives. I think that everyone has 9 lives apart from Ginger, but everyone else has them because nobody seems to be able to die on the side of VGA apart from Ginger.
Yeah, Ginger is the Ginger. Gingers do not have 9 lives. They actually have no soul. As Akuma, oh my god, the Buckler will kill another Ottawa member. Now with that burst damage with that Infernal Soul, another inhibitor tower is going to go down. And that is going to be 2 inhibitors. The Soul, the Baron, and an extra 8,000 gold going into the pockets of VGA.
It's close. It's close, Moose. It's getting closer into the hands of VGA. They are really close to grabbing the victory and the finals win. It's really close for them, but it's on how they can close out this game. Every team can get a lead. Every team can do good things with that lead and utilize it as effectively as possible. But you need to close it out at the end. And VGA have the tools to do it. We just need to see them be able to do it. We're seeing the goal differences. Bot lane is quite heavily in favor of Lokidosi and Phoenix Main. They barely deal damage to 67.
I mean, once again, like, you know, I think that this game is practically over here, as Dylan is going to go in. The Charm's going to land on a Gumby Power, is going to try to hop away. The Paranoia is going to be utilized, and it's going to be on to Sprinkler, is going to be forced to run away, is going to get caught in the Fear, is going to be able to drop the Chrono Shift, but AMLO is going to be caught on the wrong side of the ridge, is going to die. Akuma is going to die. That's 2 kills for
Oh,
VGA.
no.
Sprinkler is going to be able to use the blast cone to escape, but
That's
it's
it?
not going to be the matter. Kyler 1 is going to get stunned. Kyler 1 is going to get hit by the Keeper's Verdict. Kyler 1 is going to give Lokidosi legendary status. And that is 4 more kills for VGA, and that is the 3rd win for VGA. They will be your Unified Major League champions.
100% deserved. They even get the last kill just to close out everything with the ribbon on top to secure their victory and be the grand champions. Fully deserved, fully nicely played. Hiccups here and there, but it happens to everyone. They still perform when it matters, close out the game, and get the victory.
I mean, huge performance, I think, from 67 here, really being able to make sure
Yeah.
that those keepers' verdicts were effective, able to magnetize multiple members. We didn't really get to see those really great encores from Phoenix Main. I think that there were a couple of good ones, but there weren't any like super fantastic encores. But I
Not
think
like
that,
the Renata ones.
not like the Renata Ultimates, who were fantastic. I think Lokidosi played very well, but it was 67, and the consistency that 67 was able to play throughout the entire game that was able to give VGA so much frontline and so much control as we moved into the later stages of the contest. Overall, though, VGA, every single member of that team having highlight moments throughout this game, throughout this series. It was such a phenomenal series for VGA. Congratulations, of course, as well to Ottawa for being able to make it at least to the grand
Yeah.
finals, but just errors, I think, just fundamental macro errors that were caused. And I really, I don't want to hark on it too much, but the early game jungle pathing in games 2 and 3 being such a disaster for Ottawa, putting them in such a difficult position so early in the game. At this level of play, you can't be risky like that without having a backup plan. And unfortunately, they just weren't able to do that.
There were some really clear complications coming in from the side of Ottawa because there were some in the 3 games. There was a time where PGA kind of threw the ball and there was an opportunity for them to come back and they had the goal, but they also didn't know what to do when they get the opportunity back. And I feel like they have to really identify those sort of mistakes and try and turn it around because they had opportunities to be able to win those games. It's just that they didn't fully take advantage of them. Meanwhile, PGA, yes, they threw the ball a bit, but they always had it in them to get the advantage that they wanted to and utilize them effectively.
And with that, VGA, they are the champions of the Unified Major League. They are going to be the grand prize winners, and they are going to be your champions here today. Congratulations to them. Don't go anywhere, folks. We're going to be back in just a moment. We're going to set up for a post-game interview. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back, everybody, to Virtue Gaming. Virtue Gaming Ambition just sweeping the floor with University of Ottawa Garnet and being your Unified Major League champions. Moose TDS Sly here at the analyst desk, and we have the mid laner of this champion team. Number 2 Ginger is in the house. Congratulations, man.
Oh,
Ooh.
thank you very much.
My goodness, we've got so many questions for you, but I mean, another win under your belt. You guys are just continuing to pick up championships left and right. I mean, you guys just absolutely dominant in your guys' realm of play. What do you think gives you guys the edge over just so many other great players?
Um, yeah, I don't know. I felt like we have just a really cohesive unit together, and I think our drafts this series specifically just felt very, very strong relative to theirs, and I'm very happy. We have our coach. He really, we're 5 great individual players, but he's really the one that brings us together and gives us these solid plans and draft, and he does a lot of prep on his own. But no slack to my teammates either. I think all of us individually are at the top of our level in each role in each league we play in. So when we're on point, which we usually are, it feels pretty easy on our end. I'm not gonna lie.
Makes sense to me. I feel like with the performances that you guys have shown in not only this one, but essentially every league that we have watched from you guys, it's pretty apparent that if you're not at the top, you're at least top 2, top 3. So it pretty goes to show how well you have been doing things. And I do gotta say, I feel like you don't need to make it harder for yourselves than you do in some of those games. Like you can win much more easily than how you have done it sometimes. But I feel like overall, it's still the same thing. You know what you need to do, and you're really performing to showcase the greatness of the team overall.
Yeah. We definitely get a little bored sometimes. Get a little troll.
Makes sense.
But I think that also shows we still have a lot of potential to improve and get better as we move into the fall. And so I think for us, that means that just we're all looking to really grow as a team. We don't care about the money. We don't care about even necessarily dominating. We just care about getting better and improving as a unit.
Ginger, after this season, now that everything's over, the season's over, at least the split is over here at Upsurge. What has been, looking back on it, what has been your favorite moment of the season?
I I think it's gonna have to be semifinals in Victor's Triumph Series versus Gang 7 Mirage. That
Oh, yeah.
was the one team that and in Team Ambition Black. Those are like the 2 like mountains to climb in Victorous, and I felt like our group stage was very easy, so we never had a challenge in my opinion. Us kind of steamrolling that series really just made me at least feel extremely confident and extremely happy with all the work we put in. It was pretty unfortunate Team Ambition Black kind of fell apart and didn't make finals. But that series in particular, that Gang 7 roster has been dominating for like 4 splits in a row. So really at that point, I felt like all my work in amateur and all of our work as a team really climaxed.
Definitely. Definitely. Of course, VTS champions at that point, another, dominant win for you guys. You guys were talking about some of your opponent, some of your other opponents that were in the VTS. You guys did. I mean, I don't want to really talk about that too much. But going back into this series and to the UML in general, um, did you feel like at one point, like, you guys knew that this series was in your control? Was it like after game 1? Were you like completely laser focused, or like what was the mental going on in chat?
Coming into today, I think all of us were definitely very energetic, very on point, very talkative, which is always a really good sign for us. I can usually tell pretty early how a scrim set or a match will go based on the vibes. And we had some very good vibes. Everyone was very excited. So we were feeling pretty confident going in. We knocked out this team to lowers and quarters. We scrimmed them before, and it's been very well, to say the least, against them. So we had full confidence going in. I think all of us were honestly surprised that this is who we were playing in finals, and props to them for making a great losers bracket run. But I mean, after game 1, we felt like we just had such a draft advantage, and I mean, I'm sure you guys saw, but we kind of just fell asleep just playing the waiting game and just outscaling. So after that point,
Yeah.
we were just like, we were very confident at that point. I won't want to say we definitely had the series in the bag, but the confidence definitely skyrocketed.
And with the like, because in the series, like you were pointing out, the first game really showcased quite a bit of what the rest of the series was going to go into, especially because the side of Ottawa was essentially stuck with the same idea in almost all of the games. Like the first and the second game were essentially the same in terms of what they went for, and then the third they tried to adapt a bit, but never really changed their ways. And I feel like that just works so effectively for you guys. And like for the only fact of just playing for Loki Dozy was so good already. But then Dylan also, I think in the first game, I think I didn't give him enough props because he also got the game winning engage with the Bolivar onto the Ash and then just steamroll the team fight. But in the second and third game, like his performance early on really just allowed for the early game to be so effectively easy to get advantages on, then it just allowed for you guys to perform like you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, listen, our identity isn't a surprise. It's not a shock to anyone. We have played the same exact identity for the past 4 months. We put me
Sure.
on utility. We have 60 weak side. We have Dylan on a fast engage early game champion, and we play for bot lane. I will say that a million times. I have said it 2 teams before we played them, and it does not matter. We skill check every game, and this is going back to saying I think we are just at the top of the level we're playing in, and we will maintain that if we continue good practice. It's not a surprise how we're playing, but we draft really well around it. We do have the flexibility if we need it. It just keeps working for us, and we're in the mentality of it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I respect it.
Andrew-
I feel like that's the best.
Yeah, I've got 2 questions for you. One, so you talked about like putting Loki on scaling and you on utility, which Yone, is that utility?
It is
Like I
really seemed
said,
like he did.
we got a little bored, and
Okay.
we were feeling
So-
pretty
so-
confident.
That wasn't really my question. So I wanted to talk more about, you had a kind of a scaling identity in the first 2 games. You had Nephilios in the first 2 games. And then you kind of pivoted to a very, very mid-game style comp. What made you guys decide that, hey, Nocturne, Misfortune, and Ari, which are probably some of the premier mid-game champions at each of their individual roles, what made you guys decide that is the way that we're going to go in this game?
It was pretty much just a reaction to their picks. I mean, we were planning the Ari Poppy. Like, if Poppy was open, we had Ari Poppy as our R1, R2 pretty much the whole way. We have the really good Poppy flex, and I've performed an Ari pretty much the whole season. Plus, it adds to the whole utility concept. Once they pick Zeri Zillion, we just kind of know the series is over. We've practiced Misfortune Seraphine a bunch. It's a really disgusting lane. They can't play against it. And the Nocturne on top, I mean, we've played Nocturne Seraphine a lot when Senna was really meta. And the Seraphine ulti on top of the Nocturne ulti is kind of unplayable, as you guys probably saw a bit.
I love that so much.
It was just
I
a really easy team fight.
that last pick Nocturne was to me the smartest decision that you could go for because it's not only deserving, like they cannot do anything if you're first on river and they try to approach you, there's nothing that they can do because it's completely blind into Misfortune surfing. Like that's just complete hell. It's awful to play against. So I really love that pick from you guys.
Oh yeah. I mean, you guys, I think just overall just played a really phenomenal series. In general, like I think we all got like our opinions for like player of like the series. I think, but it's such a difficult thing to say because every single one of you guys had moments that defined a particular game or a particular part of the series. So I'm not going to ask you who you think your player of the game or your player of the series was, but I do want to ask you just an overall question about playing at the level that you guys play at and the level of like teamwork and coordination that you guys have. If there's somebody out there watching that wants to get to your level, that strives to be a competitor that is going to make you sweat, what does it take for somebody who say is in platinum or diamond to get to your level, not only as a player but then as a team?
I really want to reiterate how much our coach brings to the table here, how much that he brings us together. We are great 5 individual pieces, and we see all the time players of the games, players of the series. I think all of us really think that without these high level drafts, the amount of prep that our coach Dom puts in, we wouldn't bring it together. And I know you didn't ask, but he is my player of the series, the behind the scenes player of the series. But if a player really, wants to compete, wants to climb, it takes the work, it takes the dedication. And my number one advice is don't settle for a team. Find personalities and a team that you vibe with, that you mesh with, that you have confidence will win. Me and Loki took months to build this team. This team didn't happen out of thin air. We ran tryouts for over a month. I interviewed and sat down with multiple coaches for hours. This is not easy, and you need the passion and you need the drive. And my personality is the leadership. I want to take control. If you really want to be the best you could be, take control of your teams, of what you want to do, and where you want to put yourself in.
And if I can piggyback on that, just as someone who's been behind the scenes with Ginger, with developing teams in the past, and maybe not so much ambition. This rendition of ambition has been all Ginger. I haven't really taken part in it. But one thing I'll say too that, and Ginger, you can comment on this if you want, is that you really can't when you want to be a contender like this team is. You really can't settle on players. You have to keep looking until you find the best poppy one trick you can find. 67. Somebody who's a gamer on basically any enchanter and knows how to peel his ADC at a high level. Phoenix, an absolute psychopath who has Ni Hao in his name for no reason. Dylan, and then you already had Loki and Ginger, luckily, who are a great core. So once you get a couple of guys come in and they just try out, a lot of teams will just settle. And that's certainly not something you saw from Ambition whenever they were creating this roster. There was no settling, and they ended up with a fantastic team. And honestly, I can't. Obviously, they just won 2 championships in a row, but I mean, being able to develop this sort of a level of a team. I know that all memes aside, as those like, we just turn our monitors on and we're this good. That's not how it worked. Like this team put a lot of work in, and you could tell whenever you break down what they're doing and their decisions that they make in game that there's a lot of effort, and I just can't applaud that enough with Ambition.
I feel like none of us can really come to I don't want to say an agreement. No, like I'm lacking for words because obviously it's not my first language. But like the what Ambition has been able to achieve with those 2 tournaments in the level of dominance that they have done in the way that they play and still be angry, something that is really hard to find, and that goes to show how well of a atmosphere or like overall sentiment is over in the team. So it's great to see, and hopefully we get to see more. We have BTS coming up soon once again. Hope to see you guys back. And I'm pretty sure that you're going to be not only the team to beat, but the team to essentially watch out for in every capacity because you're still keeping a high level. And that's going to be pretty scary to any team that has to go against you.
Yeah. We will be. I will confirm we are keeping the same roster. We're competing in VTS, which starts in 2 weeks actually. We are also going to be joining Risen Divine, as our 2 leagues instead of
Nice.
Unified this split. And Risen Divine is a slightly higher LP cap than what VTS was, than obviously what Unified is. So a little bit of a step up for us. So that will be kind of what our eyes are set on to continue to prove ourselves and move up as a team, along with obviously trying to win Victorous again.
I'm glad you talked it like that because I was actually going to ask if you were going to look for that step up later on into the NCAP leagues and going into potentially against PG level rosters and all that, right? But it's going to be interesting seeing you guys on Reason and how you can develop over there.
Definitely. Oh man, yeah. I'm hearing now the news of Risen Divine. That's going to be a good test and a good stepping stone in to be able to move forward into the next step, potentially 2023 and beyond. Very happy to see that you guys are going to be continuing with the same roster. But with that being said, Ginger, we have kept you long enough. Any final thoughts? Any final words that you want to say after you guys have taken the Unified Major League?
I mean, once again, absolute shout out to every single member on my team, just hanging in there, positive mentals, scrimming consistently throughout this entire split for us. A special shout out again to my coach. Thank you guys for coming in and casting, and the few other series you have casted, along with a bunch of games previously. Shout out to Sly, of course, for being an awesome org owner and running VG and giving us this opportunity and giving me the opportunity to kind of be autonomous with my roster here, and happy to prove that giving that trust worked out pretty well. Um, and yeah, I mean, really, we're just very grateful for the position and very happy that everything has worked out like this and excited for the future.
Very cool. Well, hey, congratulations again. Best of luck to you in the fall split, and looking forward to seeing what the next step is in Virtue Gaming Ambition's journey. So, congratulations. Hope you enjoy the money. I know that the money isn't the reason why you play, but go get a drink or something. Go buy a legendary skin. It'll be fun. Um, but yeah, with that being said, guys, I mean that's gonna do it for Virtue Gaming in the or Ambition in the UML. They're grand finals champions. They are some of the best in the business, and it was a pleasure to watch them just dominate there in the summer splits. Any final thoughts, Sly? Any final thoughts, TDS?
I'll let TDS go first.
Mm, I feel like after watching this, like I'm excited for the leagues that will come up, what we will be able to see from VGA achieve, what they will showcase. Especially because my biggest question after I did talk a bit with Ginger when we were on the BTA for the BTA's final time. I remember I asked him a bit before going into it to get a bit of narrative over it, and knowing a bit more over with the team and what they are achieving. I'm pretty interested in seeing how they can perform against higher level teams to say like that. I think that is going to be such a good test to see, and who knows what doors that can open for the future. So it's going to be pretty exciting, and I'm ready for whatever BG is able to prove later on as well. And what else can I cast from them? Also, my sellout time. Follow me on TDS casts there.
Hmm. Yep. Of course. Sly, any final thoughts?
It, one thing I'll say is you won't see VG Ambition again, mostly because they will be transitioning over to another organization, Shining
Okay.
Light. So they will be being adopted by Shining Light, who will be managing and running and owning them moving forward. But of course, it'll be the same roster, the same studs. And I'm sure that they will have just as much, if not more, success over there. Sadly, this is probably going to be the last cast you guys will have here with Virtue Gaming, as we are going to be slowing things down and kind of shutting down our operations as far as our amateur esports goes. We may end up with a couple of teams moving forward, but as far as us running the org traditionally, and unfortunately, I think Moose may have just disconnected, but unfortunately, we'll be
Sad.
slowing down a little bit and kind of ending some of our teams. So hopefully we can keep an eye out for the guys that are still playing, the guys that are on Unity, such as Arch and Terry and all those guys, the Zohairs, Rat, all five of those guys will probably either be competing under VG's name without any per se support directly from me or the org, or they'll be competing under another banner. And then our as you know, TDS, our team in the LOR community, which is
Yeah.
Discipline, which I was actually pretty higher up in competing with and participating on. I ended up booting myself because those three guys are better than me, and Fansora, Mac, and AJ, all three of those guys are very, very talented Runeterra players. So again, I've given them the opportunity to either to stick around using the VG name or to compete under another name. So if you see these guys out in the League of Legends or Legends of Runeterra community, give them a shout out. They're all great people. They've been awesome to work with. I've been extremely grateful for them, and I'm excited to see what they will end up doing as we kind of transition out of this stage of Virtue Gaming into new areas.
It's going to be sad,
Well,
but if it's like that, it was a good run, and hopefully you guys get back in track later on.
Perhaps. Moose, you back?
here now. I'm
Yes.
back. I heard everything. I just pressed the wrong button. Um but yeah, it's sad to hear that. Sad to hear that. But best of luck to, Virtua Gaming's future endeavors as well. You guys have been very consistent as an amateur organization, not just as a player, but also as an org themselves. I mean, the production value is there, the quality that you guys have been talking about is definitely there as well, and not every team has that same level of care. So Really looking forward to being able to see what you do in the future, Sly. I know that this isn't an end, but just a postpone, a pause, an opportunity for new growth somewhere else in the world. So again, wish you the best of luck. But with that being said, folks, that is going to do it today for Virtue Gaming's coverage of the Unified Major League. Virtue Gaming Ambition 3-0 in their Series A, our Grand Finals champions. If you guys have enjoyed the content, please feel free to follow Virtue Gaming on Twitch. Go ahead and join the Discord if you want to, or of course, follow them on Twitter. There are Twitters, of course, for TDS and myself. You can follow me on Twitter at Moosecaster. You can follow TDS at
TTS casts.
TDS Casts. Find him. He is phenomenal. One of the best color casters in the game right now. And with that being said, on behalf of all of the players, the coordinators, the staff here at Virtue Gaming, Sly, TDS, and myself, have a great night. Stay safe, stay healthy, and take care.
Do we fight to hold our heads up high and beat the drums to what we love? Risk the fall, or we have felt it all.